Please don't hear any of this, Brad.
All right, we ready? You hitting it? Tell me when we're rolling. No, we've been rolling. God damn.
We're Googling over here.
All right.
To nerd sports now, people.
Exactly.
Look out. Do you fear death?
Oh, one of the greatest lines of all time.
I've got a job to it. I've got a job to it.
Kind of like whistles at her, so Dad looks over and the guy's going. And Dad's like, I got the fuck out of there. I was like, oh man, you didn't partake? I thought that was part of the mountain biking community, that y'all just went out there and had sex together in your tight shorts. But
Literally making me 30 sides of red sauce. He just takes it back up.
So that's what I was doing wrong the first time.
That's what you were doing wrong.
Big Pharma's turning the frogs gay, and it's coming after your kids.
And they're going to make them incredibly happy.
Infowars.com.
Listened to so much. Are you... Episode 32, man.
What's up, Bradley?
this has been too damn. I'm trying to remember when the last time we've talked on the phone a few times.
Yeah, we talked. I wouldn't say steady, but man, it has to have been at least a few years since we've talked.
Like 15 or something.
Well, since you and I have sat,
like down
and caught up,
yeah,
at least 15. Any one of those.
Yeah,
one of those.
You gotta have one of the official.
Man, you've got to have one of these.
I know. The fucking bald eagle. We call this the freedom funnel.
The freedom funnel. It's a.
Oh man.
I'm like opening this plastic right in front of this microphone. You're welcome, everybody.
Look at this. The bald eagle of freedom. The freedom funnel, man. This is just wild.
Be responsible with that, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
be responsible.
I figured since you had had a tough guy podcast, you needed a freedom funnel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right here.
And you could
Vigilant.
like Easter egg him around the room. You know, you get my dad on here or something.
Yeah, boy. He's
see
coming
if you
on
could
next week.
see. Yeah, that's what I heard. He's excited about that. You ought to see if you can get him to do one. Do one on the pod.
Do one of those?
Yeah, see if you can get him to do one of his Sierra Nevadas on one of his IPAs.
Maybe.
Get one of those beers.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
meant to do that. You distracted me with a bald eagle. I get easily distracted with bald eagles, son.
Rock, flag, and eagle.
I dug up some pictures.
Well, let's
Most
take
of
a
these are
look.
from prom, but there's a few of them.
Man, that was like the only time where people were taking pictures back then. That's such one of the differences between, how it was when we were coming of age and
Cheers, brother.
yes, sir. How people are
You can set that
nowadays.
up here too if you don't want to reach.
Yes. Thank you. Good thinking. Anyway, I'll see people all the time walking into Walmart or somewhere, and they'll like stop in the entrance and like take a picture of themselves.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's like wow.
Yeah, it's.
I remember this because I wore that fake gold chain. That got passed around. You can't see it on the thing, but I'm wearing a fake gold chain in that.
Yeah, man.
All night. We passed that around. Jeez, what's this? Josh Ferguson, Danny, and Brad.
Yeah, dude. Well, Jared and I go all the way back to first grade. I don't know how much you remember of Miss Jurassic's class.
I remember Smoke Show, dude.
Dude, she was smoking.
Smoke Show.
She was smoking.
Were you thinking the same thing I was?
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you said, oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. She got married like at the end of the school
There she
year
is.
to a dude named Hines. And I don't know about you, but I was pissed. I didn't want to go to that wedding. I was so jealous of that man.
Did you go to it?
No.
I don't think I was invited.
My heart was broke. I think she invited everybody. I think it was like she might have done it during class.
My mom would have been student teaching at the time, so what she knows.
Yeah, man.
Anyway.
That was a good year, first grade.
Yes, it
Whatever
was.
happened to Brandon Griffin? I've been trying to find.
I was going to ask you that on the pod because I've been not losing sleep, but I've been thinking at night, when I have time to think, and about stuff that we should talk about. And Brandon, I thought about that, like a birthday party or something. I think was the last time I saw him.
Yeah, I watched a birthday party that you were at. It was my third grade party, so it would have been 8, 9. I don't remember how old I was. How old
In
are you
third grade?
10? Are you 10?
Third grade, you'd be turning 9 in third grade.
Turning 9.
Right?
It was
my
me,
son's
you,
8.
Fish, Jake was there, Brandon Griffin, but it was one of those kids who made a big impact for being there for such a short time. So I think
He
he was
was-
only there for like 2 or 3 years.
He was really close with all of us, man.
Yeah.
He was a bro, dude.
Yeah, he was cool.
You know, like.
But then he moved away and just,
Did you know where he went? There he is, right there.
We went to Texas. His parents were divorced. I think his mom moved to Texas, and him and his brother Sean moved down there with her. If you know how to get a hold of Brandon Griffin,
anyone
first,
out
second,
there,
third grade at
if you
Farmington,
know.
I can't find him on Facebook anywhere.
I wonder how many Brandon Griffins there are in the
There's a
world.
lot. I've even reached out to some that didn't quite look like him to say, hey, did you happen to go to Farmington?
Right. Look at Thomas in this picture. Did you show this picture to
I
Thomas?
don't think Matt's seen that one. I'll keep it out for him.
Because they
That's
caught
our
him
first
at an
grade
awkward.
picture.
Yeah. John Odom. What's he doing?
He's around. He's out in Prairie Grove, I think, or Lincoln.
Yeah.
He's close. My mom
doubt-
still talks to Arlene and Carolyn quite a bit.
Right on. I doubt he has a very active social media
No.
profile. he's not the type.
No.
God bless him, man.
Well, shit, I didn't even get on it till last year.
I know.
I still don't even.
And I was kind of surprised that you hadn't.
Well, it's a beautiful tool if you're just using it for promotions or whatever.
Well, and for like keeping up with
Sure.
people from
Yeah.
that you've known all your life and the Facebook marketplace.
Yeah.
If you need to find stolen power tools or anything like that,
Right.
you know what I mean? I guess.
Yeah.
Who's
no
this?
shit.
Who's this chick talking?
That's Crystal Abbott.
Crystal Abbott. That's who I thought it was. Right on. I wonder what she's up to.
Back of the bus.
Yep. God, look at those baggy jeans I was wearing.
Isn't it wild to go back and look at who you were at that time? Like, do you even recognize yourself or
Not
relate
really.
to that kid at all?
I remember this blue drum set.
Oh yeah.
That's the one that I won in the drawing at Mars Drum Shop.
Oh,
You
is
remember
it?
that? Yeah.
I vaguely remember.
I'd entered that thing and they had a drawing on the radio and I won. I couldn't believe it. Best day of my life. up
One
until
of the
then.
things I remember about you and I doing was just we were so in love with music
Absolutely.
in the 93, 4, 5, 6, 7, that, and what a great fucking, because our parents had the 70s, the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
they had all this great shit, and it was like, how do you compete with that? But the 90s had their own little fucking minute there.
They did, and I remember what it was. You and I were always close from first grade on because I think that they used to put us in alphabetical order, and I'm Cypert, and you're D.
Yeah.
Your last name's D. So you and I were always kind of sat next to each other or in line. So I guess that's how that happened.
I don't know.
But anyway, I'll tell you something in a minute. But anyway, they're
we can also talk off podcast.
Yeah, no, it's
There's
all
some
good.
Stories that
I remember nap time. We were young enough that we still had a nap time at school.
Yeah.
I remember talking underneath in the round building, underneath those chalkboards,
Yeah.
because there was a space underneath the chalkboards
yeah.
that would go between the classrooms. I remember talking to you. You were in a different class.
Yeah, Miss Risley's class. Yeah, that was kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
Mhm.
Yep, I was in Miss Carroll's class. Man, what a good teacher. Miss
Yeah.
Carroll. Anyway, but Stillwell was in Miss Carroll's class, I think, too.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember talking with you underneath that. Golly, we've known each other
Kindergarten. Yeah.
37
Yeah,
years.
something like that.
Holy shit. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
you're definitely my oldest friend, and then probably one I kept the most contact with through high school,
Mhm.
even because we were still.
Well, we got joined at the hip, and it was 7th grade. We had I don't know why I remember this, but we had this music block course, which was
Mhm.
we had 4 of those that year. In 9 weeks, it was music, and it was a fucking nightmare, man.
Yeah.
For guys like us, it was
Yeah.
just we came into that, and we had a hard time. The teacher,
Well, you don't read music or anything either, do you?
I can read guitar tab, and I can read a little bit, but I just play by ear.
yeah,
all I
that's
can
the
do.
same way I do.
But anyway, we were just cut ups and stuff. But a guy came. He had a guest come from the university who was a classical guitar player, and he was. Do you remember this?
Mm-mm.
He had the 7th grade. You and I were
I
in
remember
the same
class.
Okay, right on.
It's the class we watched Amadeus in, and they
Well-
fast forwarded the part about
Yeah.
about pissing in a pot. It's
Yeah.
like, come on.
And I remember you trying to, you get out that, and you were running it back, trying to watch the good parts of Amadeus. Anyway, You know what I'm talking
A lot
about.
of titties in that movie.
That's what I'm talking about. I remember you getting it off TV and finding out it was edited, and you're just like, damn it. I remember you saying that, damn it.
God,
it's
I was a
edited.
hornball son of a bitch.
Dude,
in
we
those
all
years.
were,
We
man.
all were.
But anyway, this guitar player, he was goofing around with some stuff. Well, he starts playing Stairway to Heaven. And you and I think, were the only ones in that class who knew what he was playing. And you and I got to talking, and you said that your dad was teaching you how to play the guitar. And that is where it just, when you're that young, you have all these ideas that of what you're going to do with your life. Well, we should start a band. My dad was in a band. Well, my dad was in a band too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think you and I had very similar experiences growing up, just from our dads playing music, which a lot of kids didn't have,
right. And
and access to equipment.
my dad would bring home music because he's a guitar player, so he would buy music, even if it was contemporary at the time.
I've only got 2 of these left. You can have one.
What is that?
Peach light.
Okay, thanks.
If you hate it, I'll take it.
I don't. I'm sure it'll be fine, man.
You don't have to do it now. Just,
No, it's all good. Anyway, why don't you pour that into the?
I'm not that brave yet.
Right on. No, I don't blame you. I lost my train of thought. No,
I'm a classical guy.
yeah, and my dad would bring home music. Like, I remember, it was before we moved out to where Dad lives now, where we bought all the land and
Is he at the same place?
Yeah.
On Smoky Bear?
Yeah, on Smoky
no
Bear,
shit. I thought
absolutely.
he probably was.
yeah, and
Awesome.
yeah, it
We need to
is
do the
long time.
podcast at his house.
Yeah.
Take the shit out
Oh,
there. I want to
shit.
I want to go out there again.
The internet's not. It doesn't run as quick out there
Mm.
still. But anyway, I remember him bringing Appetite for Destruction home, and me being so fucking excited, man, that I was going to get to hear all the songs on that record.
Yeah.
It was a cassette tape. I bet you my brother still has that cassette tape
cassette.
of Appetite for Destruction. But that wasn't his music. I mean, he's
blues
Zeppelin
guy.
and Stevie Ray
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It was 1987 is when that record came out. I'm pretty sure, but I think it would have been 87 or 88 when he brought that home, because he had to hear Slash.
Yeah.
Like, he had to try and figure out those lyrics.
Is Slash the GOAT?
No,
Who is?
Stevie Ray,
You think so?
absolutely. I mean, as far as like feeling because I mean that's blues that Slash is playing.
Yeah.
And
certainly.
it's, dude, same thing with Kirk Hammett, man. This those are blues licks that he's playing. But there's something about Stevie Ray Vaughan that. And I mean, 5:30 in the morning, every morning, my dad playing it, that live at the Elma Combo concert. It would wake up everybody in the house. But
Yeah.
living as far out as we did, you had to get up that early. You had to get your day started. And it's just something that I've kind of grown up with. And I guess Stevie Ray's kind of the guitar player that I've been around his music so much, you feel like you kind of know him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Certainly. Jimmy Page is mine. Like, whatever he's tapped into, it's
Same thing
Something that resonates with your soul.
Absolutely. Well, you and I could talk for days
Oh,
just
100%.
about Zeppelin and Jimmy Page and
Well, you
I
got
mean
into
just
music
about
a lot
their
earlier than
acoustics.
I did. Like into it.
There wasn't a whole hell of a lot to do when I was a kid.
Because I was more into
so-
like the fucking MC Hammer and shit and a lot of that. The Michael
well,
Jackson and
the
stuff.
dance and stuff like we didn't really dance.
But like I remember coming back from like it might have been Branson, but you had gone with us and we were young. Like it was well before I started playing guitar, so it would have been 5th or 6th grade. And I remember you and my dad having a conversation about like 70s drummers, and you were talking about Keith Moon and stuff. My dad was really impressed that you knew all that shit, and I was like, how does he know all this shit? Because I hadn't really gotten into music yet.
Well, when you don't have cable, when you're a kid and you don't have cable, and you've read all of the books in the house that you can understand the words, you read through album covers. And my parents, they had these 33s and 45s. They just had boxes of these things, and we'd listen to them, and I would sit there and read, anything that I
Yeah.
could,
And y'all had such a cool space down in that basement.
We did.
Just for a jam
Fortunate.
place. And,
Fortunate, man.
Your dad had gear, and you guys had access to gear, which was really cool. Yeah. Something that my dad would bring home different guitars and basses.
Well, and he was willing. That was what was cool about our parents is they were willing to provide space and time and equipment, and so it was reasonable that we need to get these guys some stuff that's going to stay in tune. And support them and that kind of. They were in a position where they could. They, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we grew up middle class, but our parents certainly they worked their asses off.
Damn right they did.
Still,
I mean, my dad's he's still knocking down shifts at the walk-in ER over there off of MLK.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it's awesome.
He retired for
a minute,
3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
and I knew that was going to happen.
Is there something about because my dad also retired and then he started like a handyman business, so he's just working again. But he's doing stuff he loves versus being in the car industry. It sucks your soul out, your asshole.
You can. Well, you're just. And I love selling cars, being in the car business, like that kind of thing. But there is a lot of negativity, and I imagine that's probably any sales job or probably any job these days.
Any job, really.
It's just the attitude, the type A personality. Because that's what it takes to hustle like that.
It really does.
And you can become really susceptible to it.
Yeah.
But if you let that, it's like it's like holding back a boulder sometimes.
Yeah.
It's all the negativity,
Yeah.
But so
that's the alcoholism and drug abuse.
Do what?
Thus the alcoholism
Absolutely.
and drug abuse.
Yeah, it's famously known for, unfortunately. But
yeah, it's gonna be weird seeing your dad. I haven't seen him in ages. How's that spiral staircase holding up?
It's as good as it was last time you saw it.
Yeah.
Man. Lag bolted into the. Yeah,
that's crazy. Remember,
I remember
a lot of shit we can't tell on the pod.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
But you and I both we played together for a bit. We both had different bands, but we played our high school graduation.
Mm-hmm.
My mom still believes you have that video.
Man, it may be somewhere. It would be on VHS.
I think we have a copy of it though. I haven't watched that in a long time.
Do you remember the year before when we played the dance with Brad Phillips?
Yep.
At their graduation?
Yep.
I was playing so loud on those drums. I didn't realize, like, my girlfriend at the time, because she came to that graduation, and she was just like, you were playing so fucking loud.
I don't remember that.
I thought it sounded good.
Playing loud. I don't remember it being.
When I saw the video, I was like, I can see what you're talking.
Okay.
It's Garth Brooks' "The Dance," which
right.
It's real subtle.
It's a real subtle song.
It's, just a little sizzle with hi-hats or something. We broke it down there at the end, but people loved it. It seems like. And Brad, man, golly, that dude's got the ear, man.
That is, he's one of those raw. Did you see that song I put up with Calvert?
Yes, dude.
Calvert's got this raw talent that it really impresses me, and I don't know how guys like that. Well, I guess I do know. You really got to put yourself out there and want it to be successful.
And you have to start, because the 4 hours a day practicing, he's got that. I could tell he's got an ear.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And can carry a tune and just things that I can't carry. I love to sing, but I can't.
Right.
Can't carry a tune worth of shit.
You still play?
Dude, I haven't played it.
Really?
Yeah. I'll sit behind. I'd go to Guitar Center or something and get behind those electronic drums.
These fucking electric kits now, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's wild.
They're wild.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of them, but that's in a pinch.
It beats the hell out of
until we get Gary's kit back over here.
A giant acoustic kit, yeah.
Well, it's nice Gary, you can put headphones in and just kind of pop away.
Yeah. You're not. They can't hear you in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Because you can hear that live kit next door.
Oh, absolutely.
In any room in the house.
I believe it. They're old Gary, man. He when after you and I played, when I fell in with those guys from Prairie Grove and was playing with them, Gary was playing with another band, so I knew him when he was in high school. He played. I mean, he's a good drummer.
Yeah,
I knew. We go and watch
I didn't
Skirt
meet him until after we graduated.
Yeah, Skirt was they were from Prairie Grove. they were pretty good. Matt Forbes was in that band.
It was Mr. Pink?
Mr. Pink were they
the
were
other
also
one?
from
Yeah.
Prairie Grove, but Skirt, they gained some ground. But anyway, that's how I kind of going and watching Skirt and Mr. Pink, both of those bands.
Yeah.
Going and watching them at places like fucking Clunk and, it was a place to play.
Clunk was a shithole, but it was a place to play.
Absolutely.
It gave opportunity to a ton of different kids, man.
Absolutely.
Me included. And when you could actually get up and do a whole set, instead of just fucking around in your garage. Because there's a big leap to playing a show from just playing in your garage.
Well, and being able to going out there and playing and him just being like, no cover tunes, guys, no cover tunes.
Yeah.
It's like, that sounds like you're about to play a cover tune. It's like, dude, we're not going to play cover tunes.
I forgot you weren't even allowed to play. Because, see, I still don't really enjoy playing covers. And we got spoiled in the 90s. Because even when you played in JRs or Georges and stuff, there was somewhat of a music scene for a minute in the late 90s. It didn't last long.
There was Android 19.
Oh, yeah.
They were freaking good.
Yeah, I remained pretty close to Jay, their drummer, for a while after. Because a couple of them moved to Seattle to try and make it. I think the guitar player and...
That would have been a little... When Android 19 was...
Late 90s.
When they were around, that would have been kind of post-Seattle. But I understand why they did it, why they went to Seattle. I mean, you didn't have the internet back,
It was very new. It was very slow. Very worthless.
Not worth your time.
I've told this story on the pod before. I'll tell it again. Like, I did not think the internet was going to succeed. I was like, this is so time-consuming to get on. You can get knocked off easily. There just wasn't a lot on it anyway. And, like, now our kids just grew up with it. And it's a totally different world.
It's a part of their lives. And there will be a part of kids' lives, and it's not a bad thing. It's going to sound weird when I say it, but it's not. It's almost like we're going to build our lives around. Future humans will build lives around the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
they already are.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a hard fact for a lot of people. And it's kind of one of those subjects that people are kind of scared of, but change scares the shit out of a lot of people.
Scares the shit out of me.
Certainly. Yeah, and we've seen, what disinformation, misinformation, et cetera, can do, but it's using technology like that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Just like how you use Google, or this kind of getting into the AI thing, you wouldn't want to use AI to try and do something for you. You want to use it to help you come up with a solution or come up with the answer.
Yeah,
If it's school, use that to help you come up with it, not to try and get it to do your work for you. That is what it's going to send it in the wrong direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I followed that. Yeah, certainly.
But
it came upon us so quick, because I think a lot of people who don't really have their ear to the ground get taken by surprise when stuff comes out, whereas I'd been kind of following AI for years and just hearing whispers and reading articles and stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like you can just play with it now. I mean, you can interact with it. It's here. And I think a lot of people are I think there's a lot of people still don't really even know much about it. But like, how long do you think from now until that is really hitting the workforce and we start seeing...
Buddy, I mean, I'm sure it's already in school. I'm sure it's already writing papers for school. Sheridan, my 16-year-old, she told me that the teachers have software that can, if you write an essay on ChatGPT or whatever, that you're going to get caught, if you had to do it for you. But so there's something out there. I'm not familiar with it, but I don't know. I mean, it's imminent, and the way that technology is revolutionizing everything now, and I mean, it's been doing that since industrialization. Just if you think about the trajectory that technology has been on,
But would you agree that it's been moving a lot faster in the last 20 years?
It seems absolutely.
So we grew up in a really weird time, because we remember, like, as young adults, pre-internet, pre-cell phone, that kind of stuff.
Or when cell phones weren't reliable, it's like, well, we'll see if we can get out on
Even
it.
if you had one, it was like, yeah, fuck. Or we had a family cell phone, so whoever left the house would take it.
Yeah. Did y'all have the car phone?
We never had a bag phone.
Well, I'm talking about one. Matt, you remember my mom's blue Suburban? That giant fucking thing? we had the all telephone, and I remember the first plan she had was 40 minutes a month, and I don't remember how much it cost, but yeah, it was really spotty. 40 minutes a month.
40 minutes, yeah.
It was probably $40 a month. Or something.
Well, we were talking about, Calvin and I were talking about on his podcast about how
is that on? Sorry to interrupt you.
It's out. Yeah, it's out. It came out yesterday.
I'll
I think you get a kick out of that one. I
You-
got to start getting.
I
clips
worked
up.
with Calvert at IGA.
Yeah, I
Farmington.
remember.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, so you work a job like that with dudes, you're going to get to know each other really well.
Oh, absolutely.
And I hate that we kind of lost touch, but I mean, Calvert, he's, our lives just,
It's the nature of the business, man. It's
yeah,
life.
for sure. And he's but I mean, salt of the earth. Good.
And see,
dude.
I met him through Gary. I didn't know him real. I mean, I knew he existed because we worked at IGA, but I didn't really know him well. And he's been an
IGA,
interesting guy to
man.
sit down and talk to. And that's one of the things about doing this podcast. There's a lot of people that you kind of know through somebody else, but you've never really sat down and talked with them one-on-one, because it's so. When you usually see groups of people, you're almost stuck in these little 5-minute. It's like in Fight Club when he's talking about the travel size shit, when he's on the plane, like travel size friends, because you're on the plane for an hour or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like when you're at a family get together or a party or something, you see people and you kind of just bullshit for a minute, but you don't really get into anything real.
Yeah.
It's all this superficial bullshit, and that's what's been nice about just
Well,
doing
and-
this, is sitting down and hanging out.
Though, and at that point in your lives, when you're becoming adults or you're adolescents or whatever, when you're going through that same thing with people, it creates a bond
I
with
agree.
those people. And you and I grew up together. We've known each other our whole lives pretty much. But when you're going through something like that where you make decisions that are going to, am I going to go into this, or am I going to go to college? Am I, or you first get away from your parents
Yeah.
or whatever. Those kind of decisions kind of, it influences the trajectory of, how the next several years are going to go.
Yeah.
Because it's a decision.
It's a terrifying
Or it's
time
a
in your life,
transition.
too, that nobody wants to admit when you're in it.
I mean, yeah, it didn't seem like it was at the end, but then, what does everyone say?
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I'd have done this when if I'd have gone this route.
But you don't have enough. That's why so much of life is about experience. You can learn everything you want to know in a book,
Absolutely.
but that doesn't account for shit in the
Shit.
real world.
So, no. Well, and that, yeah, you're right about everything. You can read all the, for what I do. I mean, you can read all the sales books, attend all the sales training in the world, but until you get out and freaking do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Practical applications, and that's what terrifies me about. And I also think just generationally, the way our parents were raised is much different than we were raised, and in turn, the way we're raising our kids is much different than we were raised.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a fairly recent thing. I mean, for hundreds of years, you were homesteading. You were working on you had to work to live, not to buy useless shit on Amazon.
People had children so they would have.
Oh, they'd have right?
Dude, I'm not.
You're
shitting you.
creating workers.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would do that so that you would have people that when you start to get feeble in your late 30s or however quickly
Right.
people broke down back then, that, you would have somebody who could do the heavy lifting. I mean, that's what that shit was about. Dude, you and I are we could sit here and talk about that kind of stuff all
Your birthday's what? December
21st.
21st.
the winter solstice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was off by a fucking
Yes,
week.
sir.
Yeah, it's funny how you
Yours is November 25th,
second,
22nd.
which lands on Thanksgiving more often than I like, but
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, everyone's like, I'll give you your birthday present at Christmas. My whole life, I never thought anything of it.
Yeah.
People, I tell people when my birthday is, they're like, "Oh, that sucks." Stillwell's is Christmas
Stillwell was
Eve.
told a story on one of his about.
I've
growing
known
up.
that since, I mean, all of our lives, because I'm the 21st and he's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stillwell,
'Cause
he'll
we all-
laugh when he hears that I still remember that. He's gonna fucking laugh.
Well, we were old for our class because we all turned. After
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the school year started, we aged because Jonathan Odom's like a year younger than us.
Yeah,
he was born in like June of '82, so all those guys didn't start driving for a while.
Andy Doss is young.
Is he?
He's a September. He was born in September, and I remember he was he was 4 when we were in when we started kindergarten.
No shit.
Yep, because he was in my kindergarten class, and I remember asking him, "Oh, how old are you?" You know what? 5-year-olds ask each other, "How old are you?" You know,
Yeah.
4. Yeah, I don't know why I remember this shit, man.
Do you remember him selling Stephen King books in elementary school?
Do I remember him selling
Yeah.
Andy Doss?
Mhm.
I don't. I remember Dustin Davis. I got my first Stephen King book. Shout out to Dustin if he's out there somewhere, man. Because he hooked me up with some books back in the day, man,
Yeah.
when I had nothing to do. And a lot of them were the Stephen King books. I think that he got from his older brother. But
No,
old Dustin.
I told this story in the pod. I didn't name him, but he would. I don't know where he got the books. I don't know if his parents were getting rid of him or what. But he would have like a bag of Stephen King books, and he would go through and highlight all the naughty words. So, and then he'd like let you browse the wares. And I remember him handing me Cujo, and I was just flipping through it, and I saw cunt highlighted, and it's like, I'll take it.
God.
Just for the word. That was all. And we were in
hate
like
that
4th
word.
or 5th grade.
I don't know why, but I
That
don't
don't
like
bother
that. It's like, it bothers me the way that, like, nails on a chalkboard bother people. It's not that it offends me or I think that you're committing, you're insulting. It's not a social thing, but it's the sound of it.
Really?
Does that make sense?
Like
Some people are weird about the word moist.
See, that amuses me. I get it, and I troll people.
Well,
with
I
that.
think that's funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird.
Well, it's one of those things where I grew up in a
know.
very, like, profanity was very frowned upon, right? But
Absolutely.
that's how normal people talk
Yeah.
in real life. Like, that's the reality of the situation.
I don't look like a
So,
sissy if I sit like this, do I?
as long as you don't have your pants rolled up, no, you're
Like
fine.
any higher than that.
Showing a lot of leg there, though. I'm getting
That's
aroused.
that's
on my
the
own
style
podcast.
now.
Fuck, now you derail. What was I talking about?
No, you're talking about cunt.
Well, more so. Oh, I was talking about the language. Like my kid, my wife was very much, no cursing, and I was like, I just don't care. It's just a word. As long as they know when to use it, how to use it appropriately, and not use it in front of the wrong people, that's what you need to be focusing on. And that wasn't a discussion she wanted to have. But
Yeah.
my point was, if you just said that kerblacken was the worst word you could possibly say, it's just a social construct. It's just a series
Certainly.
of consonants. But people do certain people get offended by
Yeah.
words.
Maybe it is. Maybe there is some social aspect to it because it was such a no-no.
Right. It was
word.
taboo. But that's why I like
for
listening to
my whole life.
podcasts
Yeah.
more than I do like fucking we don't have to get
Where would we be? Let's do this right before we get into that. Where would we be without podcasts? We were talking about the internet earlier.
Yeah.
Where,
I think we'd be fucked.
absolutely.
100%.
If people talk about incendiary people, like Alex Jones is he's a bad example, but
Or Trump. I mean, you'd say Trump.
or not even Trump. I mean,
Joy Reid.
just where people have a
Whoopi Goldberg.
platform to come and talk.
Yeah.
If it weren't okay, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to sound like a total douchebag, but just give me a second. Joe Rogan changed the fucking world.
Amen, brother.
With but and it's
did.
not. I
He didn't get enough
I watch
credit.
his podcast. I don't agree with everything he says.
True.
It's
Yeah, same
he
here.
sells ad space, etc. But if we wouldn't be where we are with information if it hadn't been for his podcast just exploding.
I agree.
Him giving people like Alex Jones a place to come and talk, and he can sit there and do the Rogan.
Yeah.
Okay, and just listen.
But
Just
thank
listen to these
God
people.
for the opportunity to give voices equal opportunity.
If it weren't for podcasts, people wouldn't have listened to people like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
He's also a polarizing picture or person, or like people on Reddit will sit and talk bad about him. But I know people whose lives have been changed because they've heard what
As
Jordan
do
Peterson
I.
said.
in real
people
time.
I know, people
Yeah,
I've known
same.
for years who they heard what Peterson said, and it
Changed
it
them.
fucking
Yeah,
changed.
I've seen it.
Like, I don't know, you can get on to listen to him for 3 hours, and it's like going to what I imagine going and seeing a psychiatrist for
Yeah.
you know what I mean, or a psychologist.
Well, podcasts are also like therapy.
Sure.
You're talking through shit. You're remembering things you wouldn't have remembered. You're creating new memories, right? You're creating a record of it. Like the benefits, I honestly don't see the down. Like they're pretty much destroying big box media.
Well, and have you ever thought about this? You can't swipe a podcast up because the next one you're going to have to listen to it.
Yeah,
it slows you the fuck down.
That's a good point.
It digs you into the information.
The long form conversation.
I'm not on the Tiki app, the TikTok. I'm not on it. But I see what it does to. I see what it does to people. I see what people do to themselves with that app. They sit there.
That's a good way to phrase it. See what people do to themselves because you ultimately have a choice.
And it's fine. That is an outlet for people. The serotonin snap or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just no. And this isn't what I want. Oh, there it is. I watched this.
Instant gratification for a second.
Exactly.
On to the next.
And then you get that reward, and then it's like right back down. That slows us. It sounds so weird that I'm talking about podcasts like this. I understand that.
Hey,
that
brother, I'm on your frequency here.
But that's what it's done for me. It slows me down from just the rat race, dude. Because of life, every fucking night, dude. AirPods in, podcast on, or stand up. I'll listen to Louis C.K. just like if I'm just fucking beat.
That dude.
I'm like, or if I'm ruminating on something negative or something, I'll just listen to Louis or Shane or one of the guys.
Yeah.
And dude, that shit just goes away.
Comedy's coming back, man. I love it.
Well, and being able and not hearing the characters on stage, like listening to the guys on podcasts.
Yeah.
Like you guys talk about Protector Parks all the time.
Yeah.
Those freaking guys are.
I love listening. Hanging out.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in the room, man. You're just listening to these guys be fucking funny, and they're not even being comedians. They're just being people.
And it's not a character. It's not Larry the Cable. Right. Larry the Cable, great, excellent for his time. I mean, it's just different now, but it's not a.
It's not an act.
It's not a production.
Production or a performance.
And that's man. That's one of the things we can talk about.
But no, I agree with you 100%. But it's like the ivermectin thing on CNN, where Rogan was really staying out of everything.
Trying to. When you have a podcast that gets that big, you kind of have a responsibility. We got to talk about it.
Right. But that pissed him off because it happened to him. Mm-hmm. It's always easy to say, "Oh, it doesn't affect me yet, so I'm gonna stay out of this." But then once it does, that to me is when I feel like the media was really failing because I think they just tried to take him out like they had so many other people. Like an Alex Jones, who's going to fight for Alex Jones? He's got a big audience, but he is pretty fringe.
He does it to himself.
And he does. And he's not right about everything. He's right about a lot. But, I think anybody who puts their ear to the ground is going to call it straight a few times. Mm-hmm. But that was when they went up against Rogan and realized he's bigger than we are. Mm-hmm. And I don't think any of us knew that at the time.
You talking about Rogan?
Podcaster going up against... Well, CNN lied about him, and they changed the color of his face and demonized him. And
I don't know anything about that.
He, so basically he had gotten COVID and had come back and say, I was better in 2 days, and I took ivermectin, and they said it was horse paste, and they changed the color of his face to green. Anyway, he still talks about it to this day, and this is 4 years ago.
I saw there was a... Were you know that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If it seems like I'm interrupting you, just stop me, man, 'cause I haven't seen you in fucking 15 years, dude.
I've got dude.
So much. But anyway, they're... the Washington County Jail. That was in that was like national news, where Dr. Karras was prescribing that to those inmates in the jail who had COVID. He was treating them with ivermectin. There was like a federal lawsuit. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's in the public record. I guess I can say that because for whomever wants to discover it, if there was a lawsuit there, it's in the public record. But I don't know what...
He's coming on here.
Dr. Karras is? Fucking awesome, dude. Good.
We don't have a date yet. I don't know if he's going to watch this, but we got to nail that down. I want to talk because I see him now, and so we'll get talking, man. Like that dude's a wild.
How do you know what's the connection? I'm just curious what the connection.
It was the ivermectin thing, and I was like, my doctor was retiring, So I kind of had to pick somebody else anyway. And I really liked his stance through all that. I thought he had a lot of balls to just stand up and, say, I'm not going to just be bowled over by this shit.
Well, I'm going to treat my patients.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
I'm
not
going to,
just
it's my,
to-
my,
It shattered my.
professional
We've had
responsibility.
so many of our institutions shattered, and I think we all suspected there's a lot of corruption and fakery, but I don't think until the last 5 or 6 years the average person really knew how fucked we are.
well, and with all the information that is available and the internet, which makes it, we could get on here and talk to somebody in fucking Tokyo,
Yeah.
or we could share information. We
Yeah.
could send documents back and forth. We actually realize how much over the course of our lives, things that we thought were unequivocal truth,
Right.
we got a manufactured version.
Sure.
Not whether we were being lied to, but we got the version that was manufactured.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I got, dude,
Well, it's like the moon landing. If you told me 10 years ago we faked it, I'd have been like, I'm not going to have this conversation. Now I'm like, there's some compelling arguments.
I that's just not a hole that I've had.
Sure.
That I've had any desire.
and I'm not
to
saying
go
I think
down.
we faked it. I'm thinking there's a lot of suspect shit.
And I'm not
know.
trying to avoid
No,
a
I get
conversation
it.
about it.
But
If you
well,
want
it's
to tell
like
me,
9/11
if you want
too.
to tell me what you
Like some of the shit surrounding 9/11 is pretty fucked up.
man, that's you're gonna get canceled, man. Your
Bring
boss
it.
is gonna
Bring
hear
it
that.
on.
He's not. His hands are gonna be tied, Brad.
You know what? If you can't speak about shit, then fuck it.
I'm just playing, dude.
I'm having a peach light, having a good time with an old friend.
A peach light.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
this
open
might
that.
be
There's
the most
still some
effeminate
options.
thing I've ever done is drink one of these. But
Dude, have
I
you had
fucking
those
love it.
rattlers? It's their style.
rattlers.
It's a rattler, dude. They're good. It's like fruity. My wife.
See, I typically don't
Universal.
like sweet shit.
St.
I don't like dessert.
Sorry, I'm on my
I
phone.
don't like
Rattler.
You know, you're producing. There's a difference.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, the peach light.
Fucking internet working
It's
here?
peachy.
Is there a big tinfoil hat over the roof of this
No,
joint?
did we get killer
just
internet
playing.
here? What's going on?
No, I've just got 2 hours. It's not. Maybe.
We got the best internet in the fucking state up here. Ozark Go came out and hit all the rural
I
places
heard
at
that
first.
was. I
man.
heard that was badass.
We were on AT&T for a minute and it sucked.
That's what.
ass.
That's what I've got is AT&T. Maybe that. Anyway, it's Steiger Rattler. It's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff.
So it's like fruity shit.
It's not really fruity. It's sour.
Okay.
It's like a grapefruit
Yeah.
drink, but it's not sugary. Or, it's an ale or a beer or something.
Right.
But
My
they're good.
cousin Austin, he likes the apple that they had a few years ago, and I didn't like it. But I think it's more just I love peach flavored shit, like peach tea.
I remember that about you chewing that peach freaking tobacco.
Oh, God.
Because you could get it for like
I didn't even
99
remember that.
cents a can, the peach.
Yeah.
Skull peach. If you needed to sit in class and gut it, the peach was the way to go.
I want to confront you about something. I've been thinking. I've told this story to my kids for a while.
Let's
Do you
make sure
remember?
it's right.
This
Y'all
is
are
a-
about to hear some misinformation or
No.
disinformation.
This happened. It's like our senior, junior year, maybe back in Miss Martin's class, and I used to keep a Coke bottle with me for a spitter, right? And back then, I think they had just implemented the hall pass, where you had to like get a hall pass or something. And so I had to piss, and I didn't want to get up, so I just started pissing in this Coke can. Or Coke, it was a bottle. It was a bottle with a screw on top. And Jared, he also sat in the back, but he was like 2 rows over. He looks over at me and goes, "Durham's pissing in the classroom."
There's no way that I snitched on you like that,
Dude, you
I
didn't-
may have had an outburst and got you in trouble, but there's no way.
You didn't get me in trouble. All I remember is my dick flopping around with piss, trying to get it back in my
Dude,
pants.
I hadn't thought about that. And
Oh, yeah, you fucking
whipped
called
it
it
out.
out.
And, dude, if you did that nowadays, you would be the fuck out of school. You would be
Oh, there's a lot of shit.
you'd
You
be
could-
taking your GED correspondence.
But again, we live in a different
yeah, right.
planet. It's like
Dude,
we're in an alternate time.
God bless Miss Martin. Because she fucking passed us, dude.
God bless all those teachers that
You remember?
there were some good ones.
Shout out Russ Hutchison. You know Russ,
Mhm.
right? He told me, because he taught there for a year, when he taught Agri. He told me, after we reconnected, when I was hustling all that guitar gear and stuff, I talked to Russ a lot because he always had gear for sale and stuff. He would buy effects, and it's not the Klon, man. If anyone knows Russ, it's not the Klon, man. I need these pedals like I need another hole in my head. You know how it is. But anyway, I would buy these from him at a discount, and I would flip them. I had the time. Yeah. Anyway, he told me we were talking about that. Our class. He said that Farmington, every now and then, there would be a class of seniors that like the teachers would kind of unofficially they'd be like, we're getting this class the fuck through. They're not coming back. Like we're passing them. He said that our class. This is what Russ told me, was that it was kind of a deal. It's just like we're passing these guys. We're getting the fuck out of here.
I've always heard that our class was like particularly bad from parents or teachers or stuff. But that just kind of confirms that there were a lot of fucking people in our class that they did not want around.
Well,
and I'm sure I was one of them.
People who had the potential. It's just we can't make them. We can't make them do their work.
Yeah.
We can't make them do what we say, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I never cracked a book. I don't think I ever took a book to class. Like they would be in my locker, but if I needed it for something, I'm gonna run to my locker. It wasn't a big deal, But pay attention in class and then just go take your test. And worst case scenario, you get a high C or something like that.
Yeah. So I grew up in a very different environment. I had to maintain the A's, and so that was always a factor.
Well, and as intelligent as you are and were back then, that was it was more was expected of you.
I think it was
the A's were expected, that kind of thing.
That was just my mom grew up not having a lot, grew up poor, and she wanted a better life for me, and I didn't have that experience. I had a guy on the other night. The episode hadn't come out yet, but he grew up just dirt poor and just not having anything. And now he's got like 100 pairs of shoes, and he's got matching shirts for all of them. And I was like, what's going on with that? And it's like, when you grow up poor, it's like that rap thing is what he was equating it to, where you get some money and it's like, let's have some fun. Yeah. And I just didn't ever have that experience of being poor and understanding what it was like.
Right.
And I'm glad, I think parents always want their kids to have it better off than they did.
Certainly.
That's a natural parental instinct.
Good parents. You have parents that want.
They cared about me.
Well, they want.
I disagree, but
they want their kids to be carbon copies. Sure. I want them to go to. I mean, there are people from my dad's hometown, and my dad told me this that over the years that there are people who stayed in their hometown in Marshall, Arkansas. Yeah, I mean Marshall. I love that place, but geez, dude, it's 1,300 people. It was like he stayed there because the reason that he said that he was going to stay was because he wanted his kids to go to Marshall public school, want to get that fine education that he got. It's just like,
it's kind of nuts.
That sounds like an excuse for not doing something else. That's what it sounds like to me. But that kind of, like, one of the reasons we moved to Tulsa is so our kids can go to Jinx. One of the biggest motivating factors is get them out of these just growing schools like Springdale and Rogers and
Farmington. I mean,
it's
have you seen that football field?
No, next time I come to town, we'll cruise around with you, and you can show me what's changed. I'm sure the dot.
Yeah, you would recognize it, son.
I bet I wouldn't. But you know what I mean. It's like this area receives so much growth.
Yeah.
It was, when I was working for Walmart home office, it was like 45 minutes one way to get to work from the north part of Fayetteville. Take Interstate 49. It's like, dude, if there's a wreck, it's like you better text your boss.
Just in the last 5 years, it's grown a massive amount. Like the amount of it used to take me 35 minutes to get to work. Now it takes me 45. That's 20 minutes out of my day.
Where you work? Lowell? What town?
In Rogers, downtown. Right next to the fucking train tracks. That's great for a conference call, especially with a customer. You're in the middle of it and that fucking train rolls by. But man, it's just wild to think of the shit we got up to
absolutely.
And while it was a little different, not a ton had changed since our parents had gone to school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the TVs got colorized and the phones got a little bit nicer, but for the most part, we were just like, I mean, we're the last of the century, you know, class of 2000.
Yeah,
Close
that's
the
weird
book
because
on
that's
that.
kind of, you say the turn of the century. That's kind of when it all changed. When
It really is.
it's like it kicked into overdrive.
I'm grateful for when I was born, like just
Sure.
to be able to, because when technology was coming out in video, like there's people I know 10 years older who never played video games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were just a little too old when they came out, but like that was my life growing up. You know,
Oh, I remember,
even through
yeah.
COVID, I fucking gamed a shit ton.
I think we bought one during the pandemic, and when I think it might have been when Brittany was pregnant with Henry, so that she would have something to do during the day. She watched all of Netflix.
Yeah,
She watched all of it.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
she watched like son of a bitch. She watched
that's funny.
like Game of Thrones because I was watching that with because when that was that was
It was a zeitgeist moment. in history.
exactly and the best cinematic thing
Oh,
or what
Fantastic
whatever.
show for a minute.
Yeah, but she would watch ahead because she's just like I couldn't stand it. And I get home and she was like 3 episodes ahead. I'd be like, what the fuck? But anyway, she's
I
on
get it.
she's on maternity leave.
What are you watching these days?
Man, I'm rewatching Better Call Saul. We're watching House of Dragon as well on Sunday night, right?
Yeah, you able to stay awake through the second half?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Fuck.
I'm a night owl, dude.
No, I'm talking about how boring that goddamn show is.
Yeah,
This
they're
season
kind
has
of
been a
connecting.
snooze.
Yeah, they're connecting stories. Hopefully, we'll see what the fuck happens. But
You watch The Boys?
no, not yet.
I think you'd like it.
I've seen the trailers for it. I don't know what it's. I don't remember exactly what it's about. I know that a lot of people are watching it though.
I got in on that ground floor, I think. It was just a different take to me because I grew up, I never was a superhero fan. Never got into comics.
Me neither.
I always thought it was wild that men wore underwear on the outside of the pants. Like, that was my level with it, you know? And this was a different take. It's like, what if the superheroes are manufactured by corporations and owned by corporations?
Sure.
What kind of people are they going to be? They're fucking assholes.
Oh, yeah.
And murderers. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that's like,
Sure.
that's what the show is. Like, I want to get down with that.
Yeah.
And they're also trying to be edgy, like for
Uh-huh.
current day. So they're pushing like some of the shit I've seen on that show. I've never seen on television. It's like remember when South Park came out in the late '90s, and it
Absolutely.
was if you watch it now, it's super tame.
Yeah.
Like not even you let your 5-year-old watch it. But
Yeah.
when it came out, it was like you just had never seen anything like that on television.
Still, that show is for people who see that show on the surface, it seems just goofy and just eye roll and stuff like that. That is the best social commentary I have ever heard in my
To this
fucking
day.
life.
I reference it probably every podcast
There-
reference a South Park episode.
It is.
You got any favorites? You got any particular favorites?
Oh man, there's so many, dude. There's so many. There's oh god, dude.
Fish Sticks is probably my top
Fish
5.
Sticks is fantastic. There's one of the Make Love Not Warcraft.
Yep.
Is
Oh, that's another thing that they do a great job of is changing up their animation style for particular episodes. Like
yeah,
World
they
of
spent
Warcraft.
a lot of money on that
yeah,
episode
yeah.
for sure in Korea or wherever.
But they did one in anime, or at least sequences in anime.
That was a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Where Butter or was it Kenny or Butters who got hit in the eye with the
Butters,
Throwing
the
Star.
throwing star, yeah. And then they dressed him up as a dog and took him to a veterinary clinic.
You got it,
But what a cool thing for us to have in high school.
dude. You remember the one? Yeah, absolutely. But do you remember the one where Stan's dad decided he wanted to become a dolphin?
It was Kyle's dad, but yeah, that
Who
was
did
the
I
one.
say? Stan?
Yeah,
Yeah, I meant Kyle. I meant
yeah,
Kyle's
yeah,
dad.
yeah. The dolphin plasty.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that was the one where Kyle became black.
yeah.
And he had Mr. Garrison's
Garrison-
testicles put in his
Put
knees.
in his knees.
But-
So because he wanted to play back, he wanted to be taken seriously on the basketball team. So
Right,
he
but
wanted-
but he still sucked.
yeah,
That's an old episode
yeah.
because Max and I are on what are we on season 15 or 16, and that was a few ago.
You guys are watching it now.
Yeah, we started from
Good
it's around Christmas time. We started with episode 1, season 1, and we've just been watching.
Man,
through.
that's a lot of South Park, dude. Since Christmas. I mean, it's
But they're-
8 months. But
They only did 14 episodes a season, and it's a 30
And-
minute show.
and it's 30
22
minutes.
minutes
Yeah,
actually.
you're
So
right.
you can
You're
watch
right, you're
3 in almost an hour.
yeah, you're right.
It goes by quicker.
Yeah,
and then
if
they
you
drop
don't
down to
have
10
commercials.
episodes. So number of episodes. It's not like watching, like we're also watching Star Trek TNG. And so that's like 26 episodes at 45 minutes a pop. Like that shit takes
Wow.
forever.
Yeah.
And 24.
South Park. Go out and watch it, everybody.
I'll be buried with that fucking guitar though.
Absolutely. Well, don't do that. Pass it on to some.
Well, no, yeah, for
Have
sure.
you refretted it or anything since you've had it?
Sconser fretted it for me back in when I got
Rest
it.
in peace, Bruce. Bruce Sconser.
Bruce, he was a master. But yeah, when I bought it, the frets were all the way down. So he refretted it in like 98.
Mm-hmm. That's a faded SG, looks like. And is that a 70 Strat or is that a?
No,
is that
it's a fat Mexico Strat. It's probably a late 90s.
It's got that 70s head on it. Looks like. It doesn't matter. Fucking guitars.
Fucking
Those
guitars, dude.
Parker Flies are. Those are some good guitars.
Dude,
That's
where
a
the
pr-
hell are they? I haven't seen one since. They came out
There
for
are people
a
who
minute.
play those Parker basses too. Those are professional player level guitars.
I fucking love it.
It stays in tune and shit, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, well it's got lock and head. I mean, you can put lock and heads on anything. I've put them on my Paul and on that Strat.
That won't help that Les Paul, man.
But
Nothing will help those.
this last
logs.
drum show we played, that was the only guitar. I didn't even get the Paul out. Usually I do just ceremonially, but it doesn't sound as good. It doesn't have the acoustic pickup on it.
It's
heavy as fuck. That
dude,
Les
it's
Paul
1950s technology, dude.
that Les Paul will break your back.
I know. Was it 11 or 12 pounds?
Oh, I don't know the exact weight, but like if you play that thing for a couple hours, and I remember the first time I played like a 2-hour show with it,
Yeah.
I couldn't walk. That thing's light.
Mhm.
It's easy to manipulate.
Mhm.
I don't know. I love it, and that's pretty much all I ever play.
What do they call that SG? The one with the moons on it.
I don't know. My
Sorry,
dad
yeah,
found
I
that.
can't
I don't know where he found that. I know it was a kind of a limited edition when it's got those half moons on it.
Yeah, that's a special, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, Dad, he likes to buy and sell guitar. He'll find a deal on something, get it, just jam around on it, find it's not for him, and flip it. And
Right. Man, I did that through so many different things. I've got two. Oh, I've got a Taylor guitar that Brittany bought me. It's a Taylor acoustic. And then there's a Darren Ray's. Well, after Darren Ray died, there was a Gibson Hummingbird that was in his collection. He played. When I got this thing, it still had his dried sweat. Darren's dried sweat all over it.
That dude's
Ed
now.
Nicholson. Shout out to Ed. He hooked me up with that. He was helping helping sell his equipment for the family, helping sell Darren's stuff, and he. I wanted to buy that, and I bought that, and I gave it to my wife. She can play a little bit. She can play a few chords and stuff. Like that. She likes to. She loves music too. That's another reason, man. You meet a chick that's into the music and feels music like you do, man. You better hang on to her. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Yeah, the music industry is so different now, and it being corporately owned back then was a good and a bad thing. But you only had a handful of radio stations, you only had a handful of record labels, so pretty much everybody was listening to the same bands.
Mm-hmm.
You might have your different genres, but if you were into rock, you were listening to Alice in Chains and Nirvana in the '90s. You could dig down deeper and find some lo-fi shit if you wanted, but most of America was watching the same TV shows, listening to the same music,
right,
within certain boundaries. Now, do you think you'll ever have another Metallica level band?
No, shit, no.
No way.
Shit, no. There was, I remember going to the record stores at the mall, and they would have CDs up there that you could listen. I don't remember how it was, where you could put on some headphones.
That, yeah.
Jake and I would want to, my brother Jake, we'd want to hear a band or whatever. We probably didn't have the money for the CD or whatever. So we would somehow get feng shui our parents into doing something to get us to need to go to the mall or be there at the same time. We would just run down there. We'd listen to all of it, dude. As much of it as we could. I don't remember how that went. Maybe it was just you just pushed a button or something if you wanted to hear.
I remember those. I don't remember exactly how
it worked either,
was. But you could. But
the first time I heard bands like Megadeth, because it wouldn't have been. I wasn't going to spend my money on it because I knew it was something I was going to have to hide from my parents at that time. And
yep.
Because
the Black Album was that for me.
Yeah. And I remember that. I remember.
I
the
had
whole
to
thing was
label the
fucking-
cassette like DC Talk or something. So
You had and like
destroyed.
hide because the jacket had the lyrics on it, so it's like this will never see the light of day.
But what a different world. Like Metallica now is so tame. You know what I mean? That's
It's
just the
it's a
gradual-
production, and I mean I
Yeah.
love that band. I love that band so much, but it's such a production. Ozzy, fuck man, Sheridan's got a job, and she doesn't have her car yet. Her car's not in Jinx yet, or Tulsa where we live. It's not there yet. It's getting some stuff fixed on it. But anyway, I had to pick her up from work late last night, and I heard fucking Ozzy on the radio, and I was just like, dude, you've got a Black Sabbath poster on your ceiling, dude. They were hooked up when they recorded this song. There was a computer going with the EQs on the computer, and Ozzy was probably sitting in a chair just singing it into a microphone like this. And they just
Yeah.
dude, it's not fucking
And they
metal,
fix
dude.
it.
It's fucking weird. And his band changes all the time.
Oh, I know.
And
It's disgusting.
they'll have Zach come in and put down. I mean, if he still plays with him or whatever.
I did see Ozzy with Zach back in the early 2000s. And it still felt cool. Like Zach was really, powerful. But Ozzy's always had that relationship with guitar players, where until after Zach.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
Well,
gotten
and
out of my. I don't know who the hell.
I don't know who he has now. I'm sure he's got some of the best. I mean, there's no telling what his budget is to put a band together. But like, it's always freaking. It's just not mine, and that's not a big deal. But for me, coming from the school that we came
Yeah.
from, you got to keep these guys together.
Part of being
If
old
if
school.
they break up, it's not the fucking same. You don't put Phil Collins behind the drums for Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? You don't put Jason Bonham behind the drums
Yeah,
for
it's
Led
not the
Zeppelin.
same with Jason, but I'd still rather see them play than not play.
Certainly.
I wish they had put out more music because Bonzo.
I was an asshole for saying that, but like
No, I don't think so at all.
because they put that band together to play at Live Aid, which that was a good.
Well, I wasn't even
That
thinking
was a
about
good-
Live Aid. I was thinking about that O2 concert they did in the UK when the guy at Atlantic Records died, and who had been there, one of the heads for a long time, and they did a CD, or CD. That's dated language. They did a live album,
the new Zeppelin CD,
right?
Yeah.
Robert Plant, what a prick.
dude. Lyricist though, man, he can write some fucking lyrics, dude. Yeah. But like the stuff
He
with
can.
Alison Krauss and stuff. I mean, I guess maybe she's in his range now. Like because he's changed. His range has changed over the years.
That record damn near killed me, literally.
Him and Alison Krauss.
That first one, Raising Sand, driving back
Mm-hmm.
after Christmas or something in Mountain Home from the in-laws, listening to that album, and it kept putting me to sleep. I was going off the fucking road, man. I had to put on some Pantera or something.
Yeah.
That record, fuck.
That's another band that they're back together now without the only important
Yeah.
fucking members.
Without
dude, I love
Dimebag,
him.
I mean, I think it
Dude,
depends on the
Dimebag
member.
and Vinny, dude. It's like, whatever, dude. I don't even like Metallica much without Jason Newsted was fine, but without Cliff,
the Cliff
dude.
Burton days they haven't really. I mean, I'll argue the Black Album is a fantastic record
It's
for
excellent.
what it was because
It's excellent.
it brought metal to the mainstream.
Yeah.
Now you may love or hate that because it made it a household genre,
Mm-hmm.
but I think all of their best shit was with Cliff.
But
All
for
of it.
sure. But how many bands got a shot to make a living playing music because of the Black
Well, that's
Album?
why I say it's yeah.
And it was good. It was good for music because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a lot of watered down weird stuff.
And Lars was right about the Napster thing. We thought he was a fucking asshole back then, but
yeah, I mean
that's their intellectual property.
Yeah, and whatever. I mean,
I won't sit here and defend Saint Anger for a second. That was a
was
fucking
weird.
bad decision.
yeah. But I mean, if those are the type of dudes, they're so high functioning guys. What people don't realize about those musicians, it's like, why are they making this fucking music? People are they ask that question. Why are they doing this? It's like, because these guys will self-destruct if they don't make music. James Hetfield, he will self-destruct if he doesn't keep making music.
But I think that's just all men. Or even
Yeah.
maybe women too. I don't know. I can't speak from their experience, but like I know when I don't have like during COVID when I wasn't doing anything productive, I was just drinking myself to death playing video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I think
I hate to
you
hear
need
that.
a purpose
Yeah.
to keep you focused and motivated to do
Well,
better.
and that's his thing. I saw something where he talked about where he was kind of open about it. You could tell he'd been in rehab because it's just the way he
Was this on Rogan by any chance?
James Hetfield?
Yeah, he did a Rogan episode. He talked
I'm gonna
about
have to find it.
beekeeping for an hour.
Oh my god! It's such a small bubble those guys live in. But he talked about, like spending. He would like go and spend money. Just I'm buying, like Elvis would do.
Yeah.
I'm buying me a Cadillac. And, everyone in here wants one. I'm buying y'all. He would do that kind of stuff. Just spend money because he didn't know what else to do when he wasn't
Yeah.
making music.
Well, that's something I can't relate to, but I could see doing it.
But when you have that kind, because those guys were nobodies from
Well,
California.
he grew up poor.
Yeah, and a skateboarder from California or whatever, and they achieved that kind of fame. It's like you are locked into this. You're doing this. This is what you do. You make this music and stuff like that, and then you get into another part of your life where it's harder to sell records. And
Yeah.
that kind of. You can see how it evolves, but.
Yeah, the ease of use to it, like I can record an album by myself if I wanted to. Might sound quite as good.
You did that when we were teenagers. You would
Yeah.
do all the.
Mm-hmm.
You would do the guitar and bass parts, and man, you talk about some some hard edits and some, with some of that recording equipment that we hauled home from. If Scott had something you remember Scott at Making Music? If he had something that was that he took it on trade or something, we like a 4-track cassette recorder thing, and it's some of the stuff we put together just take hours on it. Just spend hours working on it.
Time consuming. It's still time consuming, but it's so much easier to manipulate.
Oh, certainly.
I remember the first time I used pitch correct. I was like real hard stance against it. I don't want to use it. I don't want to use it.
Is that the vocal?
Well, it'll if you're off like 1 cent off of the note, it'll just snap you to it.
Gotcha.
Now, if you turn it up all the way, you get that Kanye West sound.
That reverb,
the share thing.
Yeah.
But I was dedicated to, and when I first started, I was so old school that I was like, I've got to get one whole take. I didn't even like taking pieces of takes. And you get over that real fast when you're paying for the session. It's like, how can I get through this and move on? And, we were running out of money, running out of daylight. And it was like, you want to do that again, or can I just pitch correct it? And I was like, let me hear what it sounds like pitch corrected. I couldn't tell, other than it was not out of key.
Yeah, it wasn't early.
I was like,
that
fuck
time.
it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's nothing like those days, though, when you just turn on a microphone in the middle of a room and just play it, just fuck it, just play it live.
Do you remember when Daniel Henson was in the band with Josh and all that?
Dude, Daniel Henson is a damn good drummer.
He was always a good drummer.
When he was a teenager, that guy could fucking play, dude. And if he's stuck with it, I bet you he is.
He was playing like Tool shit and stuff back then. Like he was not just dicking around.
Yeah, he was an excellent. I know that. I don't know this for sure, but it seems like people had a hard time getting along with him about some things. But I'm sure it was just being teenagers, that kind of thing. But he's damn good. All those guys out there in Winslow, the Yinglings, and dude, those guys could make a damn good living playing music if they went the route that they. I'm pretty sure those guys still play locally, don't they? Jesse Dean's one of them, isn't he? You know Jesse Dean?
Jesse still plays around. Jeremiah Estes still plays.
What's the dynamic with Jesse in that community?
I honestly don't know, man. I know their dad passed.
Yeah.
Real recently, they got a service for him this Saturday.
Jesse plays with Earlham then, doesn't he?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, he does.
I remember him being just a little kid though.
I remember him playing the
Yeah.
piano,
Yeah.
and just being like, "Holy shit!"
Little.
Well, and thinking that we knew what the fuck we were doing. Then you see somebody like that play. and
Somebody
it's just
way
like
younger and way
somebody
better.
who lives in the fucking woods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I say lives in the fucking woods. I say that, you know,
They were out.
With
They were
a
out.
lot of respect.
Out and about. Way out in the
just
country.
talent, just talent.
Just raw talent. But I had a girl on last night, Ashley Perkins. I saw her at a buddy's birthday party, Rick Owens, and she was playing solo acoustic, and you know, real talented. She came on and did a musical number with me last night. We did a pod, but she was talking about
Is
growing
she
up.
the one that did that Sam Cooke song?
The what?
The Sam Cooke song?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was. You guys did a really good job.
yeah, she's good. But she was talking about her family when they grew up. They were poor and there were a ton of kids, and people just learned instruments, and they had jams, and so whatever you needed, you know, somebody would learn that instrument, and so she grew up in an environment where everybody in her family played, you know, and then you got time, and you're just learning, and you're getting good, and you're building your craft.
Well, and everybody's having a good time with it. Our evenings would turn into that. You know, me and my brother. It would start with my dad showing my brother something on the guitar, and then I get on the drums, and dude, it would turn into. It's
session.
It's 11:00 at night,
Yeah.
and we have school in the morning. You know, like we
Right.
have not washed or we have not taken showers.
Yeah.
You know, so many nights, dude. You know, but I mean, that's a good way to grow up. Absolutely.
It was all having a band was always a great outlet and release for me. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I didn't have it, because I didn't have that outlet for creativity, and so I just would sink it into meaningless things.
Well, and see that was the thing with me is I moved on to other things. You know, I had other priorities like having a social life. You know, going into college, joining a fraternity, and, you know, acting like a dumbass for 4 years. And,
Yeah.
you know, just that thing became a priority. But dude, you know, it was where it's like now, you know, it's like, well, you probably should have stuck with that. You'd have, you know, you would still have that thing going. You know what I mean. You shouldn't have missed those years of it, but whatever.
But coulda, shoulda, woulda, man.
Certainly, yeah.
You know. All you can do is the best you can do at the time with the information you have. I used to spend a lot of time regretting shit and just living in grief. And like
Really?
just feeling guilt about a lot of shit.
Like stuff you've done, or just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I
it's
think
like,
that's a real human thing to
I don't know.
do. I mean, unless somebody's a sociopath or something.
But it was unhealthy because you couldn't change it.
Exactly.
You could only say, would I do that now? Well, no. Would you know, you can't go back and change it. So you just gotta power through it and just say, hey, you know, that's the past. I'm a better person now.
You were talking earlier about during the pandemic, like drinking yourself. Do you think that kind of thing's what made like drinking get out of control or whatever? If that was
Made what out of control?
drinking out of control, like
No, I've always had the drink. It was the worthlessness. I got out. I didn't have to be presentable. I could literally roll out of bed and get on the computer and I'm working. I didn't have to take a shower and get, you know.
and you're spending all that time with yourself or whatever.
But now
So
you're
that's
sleeping
what-
later, right? Now you're staying up later. You're just getting into these bad habits, and nobody's connecting. So it's just you're doing nothing productive.
or you're falling into a routine to where if anything outside the routine happens, it's a shockwave, or you
and
know what I mean.
And the drinking probably was worse because you didn't have to be presentable. You know, like I'm gonna have a few drinks, I'm gonna have a podcast, but I don't want to get smashed in my own podcast.
Certainly.
So I know, you know, just
That would be
just right.
that would
Well, I'm
be
also
hilarious.
a fucking dad. You know, I don't
By
wanna
all
see my
means,
kids.
if you want to do that, I just want to be present for it.
It hasn't happened yet.
Get smashed. Dude, you remember that birthday party that you had where we had that fucking Everclear? It was like
You'll probably have to remind me.
8 or 9 dudes all at your house
Over off Ray's Mill.
on Ray's Mill.
Yeah.
And we had
my
one
parents
bottle of Everclear. And your dad busted us. He came out.
Was it Andrew and Luke?
Andrew was there. Luke was there. I just remember your dad coming and being like, "Why do I smell alcohol?"
Not the last time he said those words.
Our poor parents, dude. And nobody was even smashed yet. Like,
No.
I think he knew what the fuck was going on because we snuck out that night. That was when there was like a curfew in Farmington. You couldn't be out. Pedestrians couldn't be out, or if you were, you were subject to getting stopped
Was
by
there?
the cops.
Well, like an unofficial kind of.
Probably.
Redneck,
Or if
yeah.
you were under 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
We're going to detain you, whatever. But I remember us hoofing it on foot to the White Oak station from your crib there on Ray's Mill.
What the hell were we doing at
We were
White Oak?
buying not High C, Hawaiian Punch.
To mix?
Yeah. I don't believe you can't remember this, dude.
No, I do. I remember I didn't remember what we were drinking, but I remember that night.
It was.
Because Andrew Thomas took the fall for that.
Yeah, I remember.
Because we all blamed it on him, and my dad called his dad, and Andrew took it.
He took.
That's one of those things I felt guilty for a long time was him taking the fall for that.
Why? Dude, teenagers do that.
I know,
doubt
but
it.
like,
That's the thing.
I feel bad about the way I treated Brad Talley some of the times. But then he brought a lot of that on himself too.
Did he?
I'd love to have him on the pod.
Get
He's
him,
still
dude.
around. I will. I'll reach out to him.
I think that I'm hooked up with him on Facebook. I think I am because I thought about him. Dude, there's no telling how long ago it was, but I remember getting on there to see if I was still connected with him, and if he had posted lately, and it didn't seem like he had. I think it seemed like he was really involved with his church and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But it's so weird when you start doing a podcast. There's always people you got to have on, right? Your close buddies, and then as it starts getting some momentum, do you have people asking to come on? It's like, well, that's good, but like at the same time, like I got some people that are like top priorities here. You know, like this is one I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah.
And you gotta get those. But I'm definitely excited about. I didn't know. I was like, am I gonna run out of friends in a month? Like, am I gonna be able to do 10? You know, I just didn't know. And now I'm booking in.
Well, and the more people who come on, I imagine that's going to inspire people to be like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. You just sit down and start talking.
Well, there's a lot of intimidation at first. You know, what are we going to talk about? There's a lot of people who won't come on because like, I don't have that much to say. I'm like, you'd be surprised if you just sat down and started talking.
For sure. Well, and, people want to come on and debate politics or something like that. You talk
See,
about
I'm not
about
married
it.
to ideals, so I can talk politics and not get mad.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like that's what a lot of people are. That's gross, dude. I don't really care for that. I don't care for
You're denying the people's life.
your Bush latte
You need an
page.
You wash the palate, cleanse the palate.
Yeah, I'll have this. Anyway, they're. I don't know, man. It's important for us to sit and talk, because there's. Well, to get dialogue going between people who you've lost touch with. Especially people like you. One of the reasons why I was interested in doing this is because, you're somebody you're an intelligent guy that I grew up with, and I don't mind telling you that. But like,
I don't mind hearing it.
yeah, well, I know that's why I didn't realize it. But I think you understand the spirit of what I'm trying to say. But you're somebody who I know is capable of thinking, and we're living in a society where
Thinking is discouraged.
or the hills that people die on are the wrong fucking hills. You know what I mean? Like,
Agreed.
people that don't talk to parts of their family because they're liberals or they're Democrats,
Right.
or that kind of thing, or I don't know. It's just it's something that I think that as Americans, I feel like it's our responsibility to talk through it.
But I think that's exactly what they want. If I'm talking about I'm talking about the people in power. If you have people hating each other, then they're both in echo chambers,
Sure.
and nobody's communicating.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if we all the people got together and started saying, "Hey, we're getting fucked by both of these teams,"
Exactly. And that's what the polarization. And I talked about that in 2016 about the dangers of a presidency of somebody who is outspoken as Trump. And I don't want to come off as someone who's anti-Trump at all, but for me, the thing about Trump was good, how Trump is good for America, is that he bites at the nuts of the establishment.
Yes.
And
that's why I like
and I don't know why I just put it like that, but I mean, I think that is.
Not here.
It was good for it was good for America because he did that. But at some point, it's going to have to, because we're kind of in an echo chamber with the podcast because we all think pretty similarly on here. But half the country doesn't want Trump to win this next election, and a lot of people I know, people who I'm around, people I love, are just like, fuck him. It's like, if we take that approach to it, it's going to continue the same thing where we have economic anxiety and stagnation, which is what's happened. That it's all symptoms of the political polarization.
Yes.
I mean, it's happened time and time again through history. And yeah, we've got these cults of personality like Trump, like, from the other side. I mean, I guess Bernie Sanders, on the other end of it, who could be considered a cult of personality, or Antifa.
Right.
But, and Trump's not even that far on the right. I mean,
well, that's the point I've been bringing up lately. Is it's like Trump's pretty moderate. Mm-hmm. If it swings back to the right, be careful, because it's going to be an authoritarian right that's evangelical and is burning Metallica CDs.
Buddy, the superintendent in Oklahoma, the superintendent for, I guess, state superintendent is the name of the office, I think, but he's the head of the public education.
Right.
He has ordered, in Oklahoma, that every public school classroom, grades 3 through 12, will have a Bible in the classroom, and that teachers will teach lessons from the Bible. They will incorporate that into the curriculum.
That's nuts.
Buddy, it's a violation of the Constitution. But and I'll give you my analysis of that, is I think I don't know if he's an evangelist or not. I don't know enough about the guy. He's a young dude. He's probably about our age, maybe a little bit younger. But I think that he wants to take on the separation of church and state, and I think that he wants to use public dollars to do it.
Right.
Like, because he is the state superintendent, I think that he wants to have that fight while we have a conservative majority in the courts, and Trump.
Yep.
Obama, I say Trump packed the court. Obama left the courts unbenched, whatever the word is, vacant. He left the courts vacant, and Trump filled them with, imagine that, with conservative justices. Anyway, now we have a conservative majority. He wants to take that on, and he's going to fucking do it, because he has made these executive orders to say, you're going to do this. Don't test me.
So you have to have a Bible in every classroom.
A Bible in every classroom.
But I'm sure he wouldn't allow a copy of the Quran in every classroom.
Yeah,
or
good point.
Whatever.
Okay, or...
Well, that's another slippery slope.
So the point that he made was, okay, well, when they teach a lesson or something that happened out of U.S. history, or world history, now here's a story from the Bible that can equate to that. It's just like, that's the definition of violating the separation of church and state, is you are showing preference to the Holy Bible.
I agree with everything you're saying.
But that it's when I took the really scenic route to making the point that it's when we are in a polarized society that people take on things like separation of church and state.
Sure.
It's when we're in a polarized society where we have a riot at the Capitol building.
Sure. Well, if you're using language, and I'll just use this for example, if you're calling Trump the next Hitler, you don't think there's a possibility somebody might take that literally and try and take him out? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
Like, to your point.
That kind of thinking, but it's not going to be up to politicians. It is.
They're never going to save us. Not Trump, not anybody.
I mean, poli-sci 101 in college. What is the Well, what is your number one job? Get in power, stay in power. I mean, that day one. This
Yep.
is politics. Get in power, stay in power. I
And
remember
protect your power at all costs.
And
yeah.
what Donald Trump's going to do is he is trying to strengthen the executive office. So he believes, or what that's his plan, is for him is to strengthen the power of that office, from what I understand, to where he can do things without Congress. And I take issue with that.
If that is in fact his goal, I would take issue with
I
that.
mean,
One of my
what
biggest
is
criticisms of Trump
let me
is
ask you this.
the number
What-
of executive orders he issued.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. He should have in my opinion, should have done away with the executive order thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Obama did use executive order.
I agree. Yeah.
The
Bush. I mean,
affordable health care or affordable care,
it's become a dictatorship.
and that's a problem.
I agree.
When
I agree.
a symptom of polarization is when we have a president using emergency powers that affect every fucking thing in our lives.
Yeah.
That affect how we go to work or why we stay home. Whether Anthony Fauci has the authority to say we have to wear masks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It
Preach, brother.
it's a dangerous time. And we have to fucking figure it out. And
But when you say we, it's we the people.
It is the middle class. It is the voting class.
Yes.
It is the people that are going to roll out. We have to get beyond the machoism of we're going to kick the shit out of the liberals, or we're going to cancel people's speech because of the hate speech or whatever. That's not hate speech.
Over something that's a joke.
Certainly. Or something that's fucking protected. You know, it's protected.
Right.
He doesn't have to censor himself to preserve your feelings.
But you seem like why you seem reasonable to me is because you keep referring to the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You want to protect the Constitution at all costs, regardless of who.
I want to protect the Republic,
and
because I am a very, very patriotic American. I love this country. It's the best country in the world, and I'll do what I can. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to get on the wagon of, I'm going to support Republicans because this something just popped in my head. I mean, where I'm gonna follow a party line. I'm not gonna do that.
No.
I'm gonna use my brain.
Right. But you have to be tribal now, and everything this party says, I have to agree with 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that. Mm-hmm. No way in hell.
No, there's no fucking way. Well,
but people do it.
Here's another point and I wasn't even gonna bring this up on the podcast, but I'll fuck it. It's like we just had the Republican National Convention,
Mm-hmm.
and Terry fucking Hogan spoke to the voters.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan,
In character.
Hulk Hogan, the cartoon.
Yes.
Hulk Hogan came out and told America who needs to be the next president. To a roar of fucking applause. That is a fictional guy.
I liked it though. I thought it was fun because I'm an
Absolutely.
80s kid.
Absolutely,
But if
you liked
you're
it.
a type of person who's gonna get your vote swayed by Hulk Hogan, you got bigger problems.
How many people have?
Sadly, probably a lot.
Yeah. That's
But I don't know if there's any help in those people.
well, and I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking. That's where we are. That's where our political systems are. You know what I mean?
get where you're coming from. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting time to be alive.
I didn't see it as an attempt to sway votes, but yeah, it could have been. I was thinking it was a novelty.
They could have had,
but
they could have had somebody who had something real to say instead of chest beating and I guess is my point. It's like that's who they had at the Republican.
But was it badass to see as a kid who grew up in the 80s?
I guess, yeah. I was never really into it.
I wasn't either, but it was.
Dude, it was just fake. And my dad fucking hated wrestling. He's like, this is stupid, it's fake, whatever. So I never really got into it. I totally would have if he'd have let me watch it.
I wasn't big into wrestling either. I always thought it was fake, but
We
it was a
have
cultural
TNT.
phenomenon that we lived through. You know?
Absolutely.
Like Hulk Hogan. Like, you fucking knew who he was, whether you were into wrestling or not. He was such a zeitgeist character, like a Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, we got to see Jordan play, man,
Yeah, we did.
in his fucking prime.
That was a hell of a career.
You know, I sometimes lament that I missed out on certain careers. You know, you hear about, you know, like Dan Marino's rookie year and seasons like that, but we got to see a lot of cool shit.
Well, and you didn't have access to we didn't have access to as much media as we do now, to where you could follow.
Yeah.
You know, it would be like, oh, they've already beat them. You know, you would find that out from reading it in a newspaper or something. You know, they beat them weeks ago or whatever. But yeah, they're all Marino, man. Boomer Esiason, John Elway, legend.
Terry Bradshaw. I'd
Terry
like to
Bradshaw.
have seen how he won 4 rings, because by looking at him,
Yeah.
I don't get
It was a
it.
different game back then.
You know, it was a tougher game. It was a simpler game.
There weren't rules protecting the quarterback.
There weren't rules protecting anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
We were indentured servants, man.
Yeah.
You go out there on the battlefield
You
and
will,
win.
you will go out there and play. You will play with a broken
There's so
leg.
many players' rights now, and I think that's a good thing. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you want it to go in that direction, but
Well, and it's a business, and players have become a commodity, and
they have.
it's
They become prima donnas too, and there's a negative aspect to all that, but it's humans playing the game.
certainly. Yeah, it's things are changing, man. 10 years, the world it'll be unrecognizable.
I agree.
10 years ago, today.
I don't really find it recognizable to me anymore.
Mhm.
Like, I feel really out of place, and I could be wrong, but I feel like it took our parents longer to get here. Like, I feel like they were like in their 50s and 60s before it was like, I don't even know what's going on. Like this.
You talking about with like the internet and stuff, or like?
Just not relating to the way you grew up.
Okay.
Like, I feel just completely out of touch with society, with the world, technology, all of it. It's just so different than how I grew up, and I'm kind of just exhausted with it.
Right. Well, what about them like inserting Taylor Swift into football now?
Yeah.
And I'm a casual
See,
football.
I'm a huge NFL guy, and last year was
and
the
I'm
first-
not. And dude, I'm just like, that's kind of annoying.
Well, to
and
me,
I'm
this-
not sucked into it locked into it every night.
Well, see, I'm a huge NFL guy, so we probably watch 2 or 3 games on Sunday, and watching Monday night, Thursday night. Like, we're into that shit, man. We love it.
Yeah.
And the Super Bowl comes around, and it's the culmination of this whole season. You know, ups and downs and swings and teams coming out of left field. You know, it's a narrative. And then when she got plugged into that shit,
That was weird.
I was like, I didn't even care about the. I was so but I saw so many, mostly women, jump and get interested in it because of Taylor Swift.
Maybe that's
and the
what it
narrative.
is.
And I think they did it intentionally. If you ask,
Dude, there is nothing that happens with the NFL that's not intentional.
well,
I
if
don't
you
think.
you tell me they met by chance and just fell in love, come on, get the fuck out of here.
Who gives a shit?
America loved them. They were a cute couple. Well, not all of America, but
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people thought it was a cute story, and I felt like the cigar room got overtaken with a bunch of Swifties, and I was pissed. I was salty about it, Jared. I won't lie.
Well, it's a distraction from the game. Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. It's
not that I'm a
distraction.
snob about how you need to broadcast my football, but it's just like, dude, who cares? She and her friends are.
But if you can
it's just
gain
a weird
eyeballs-
thing. I guess is the thing. It's fucking weird.
But from the NFL's perspective, it was a brilliant move because you're getting eyeballs.
Yeah.
You want more women to watch,
Yeah.
you know? But do you want to chase off your core audience in doing it?
You're
Because
not
that's
gonna
what
chase
Star
off the
Wars
core
did. It's like, hey, we want it to be welcome to everybody, and so we're just going to hire the shittiest writers on the planet and chase off the old people
Yeah.
that, were the bread and butter for fucking 50 years.
Yeah. We have gay Star Wars robots.
I mean, we don't need it.
Well, it's social aspect.
But I get wanting inclusion. I get it. But then you push things too far before people are ready. There's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
I feel like things just got so woke that it just became a parody. You couldn't even satirize it. It was so crazy.
Yeah,
They were literally doing
bananas.
South Park episodes that came out 10 years ago, doing an episode about how ridiculous it could get.
Which one? Which one?
Well, you
Or
you
your
remember the
first-
one where Randy Savage started competing in women's sports, but he didn't wear a dress, he didn't wear makeup, it was just him.
You're gonna.
Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah.
And he was just kicking their
I'm gonna
asses.
come-
He was just beating the fuck out of him, but he identified as a woman, and it was like, okay, that will never happen, but that's funny.
Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah. Shit. I'm gonna have to look that up. Because that was really funny.
Oh, it's always funny, but
Well,
it's
and
become
stuff like-
prophetic, and that's what's worrying.
Stuff like that kind of shit has just made people run to the extreme
I
the
know.
other way, to where people broadcast. They feel like they need to broadcast their view on how they disagree with that, and they're proud that, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Well, I'll give you a good example. So one thing that really scares me, and I've heard a lot of people in my personal life say this: God saved Trump that day.
okay. Well, God didn't save the guy who came
Corey
to support him.
Comparator, the firefighter. Yeah,
and
no,
got
he
his
didn't
he
save
got
that guy.
shot through the head.
Yes.
God didn't save that guy.
But if he already wasn't a messianic figure to some people, he sure as fuck is now,
Dude, it's
and that is scary.
And see that's one of the things that I think is dangerous, is this Trumpism that goes around. And I'm not trying to
But that's
say
part of
that
polarization.
it certainly
'Cause
is.
if you want to do a 2-hour episode on me criticizing Trump, I could do it,
yeah,
because there's a lot of shit that I really hate that
it's
he does.
what I was talking about Trump, as far as him biting at the nuts of the establishment, the people who are
That's what I
fucking us
love.
over,
Yes.
people who are they become career politicians and become multi-hundreds of millionaires
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, him exposing that for what it is. But at some point, it's got to run its course.
Well-
because of what what we're talking about. This
But I don't think it has yet, though. I think he's still exposing things.
Mhm.
Like this, the congressional hearings with Cheadle and Director Wray of the FBI.
Mhm.
Like, they don't have a fucking clue what happened that day.
I
or
haven't
they
even
are
looked at what the
lying.
FBI angle was. They were just unprepared.
So the Secret Service is saying, hey, you got to ask the FBI. The FBI is saying, you got to ask the Secret Service. So they're both pointing
It's a clusterfuck.
fingers, saying everything's out of their jurisdiction. It's a clusterfuck, and you can tell they're either just lying or the level of... If our government was as incompetent as that team was that day, China and Russia would already be over here. Right? Like, I don't believe we're that inept.
Well-
Somebody somewhere allowed this to happen, and nobody's going to take the fall for it.
Yeah, or they're trying to cover their asses when it.
Sure.
I mean,
which is human nature.
she's resigned, but I don't know.
And
what
I don't
Ray
think
is.
she allowed it to happen specifically. I think she probably maybe wasn't as... All it has to do is be as a middle manager. It doesn't have to go all the way up.
Well, and
You
I mean,
just buy one guy.
He doesn't hold the office, so it's not like I don't know how the Secret Service handles their business, but he obviously didn't have the fucking A team, because
Obviously.
I mean, there's footage.
Love or hate the guy, that was an embarrassment. to this
There's
country.
footage after the shooting. They don't have control of Trump. He's having them stop so he can fist pump. If they were in control, he would have been gone. The way that those operations are supposed to work, I think.
He
I
might
don't
have taken him by surprise if he's like
because
down and
you
all
can
of a
hear
sudden
you can
he's-
hear the hot mic. He's like, stop, wait,
Yeah.
and that's when he does the fist and he says,
Yeah.
fight. It's just like they need to. When I first saw that, I was with my wife and I was like, holy shit, this just happened. And I'm like, they need to get him the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
We didn't know the shooter was down. Maybe they heard shooters down, and in their circle they knew that he was down.
Maybe.
But probably did. But that may be why they stopped.
Maybe.
But I was telling Brittany, I'm like, they need to get him the fuck out of there. And I get worked up watching that shit. But like, when they get him to the SUV or whatever, and she's trying to put her fucking gun in her holster. Have you seen?
Yes,
Do you know what
I've
I'm?
seen it.
Dude, she can't. Because
an
she's
embarrassment.
so. What happened? Your
nerves.
Your sympathetic system or parasympathetic, whatever it is. Your fight or flight kicks in. Your blood's protecting your organs. Your fucking hands don't work.
Yeah.
You're supposed to train for that. You have to get your gun back in your holster. And this happened. She should know how to calm herself down. To be protecting a guy like that. It was a failure by the Secret Service.
On every level. Every level. That's
Well-
the most obvious vantage point. You would have people posted on that roof.
I will say this: Donald Trump is the luckiest son of a bitch alive.
He is.
He is lucky that.
It's beyond luck. I almost feel like we're in a simulation. He's so lucky.
Well, after seeing the video, I was just like, so the guy grazed his ear, and then seeing it, it's just like.
Have you heard
he could just as easily have been shot in the head.
Well, you've seen the simulations, right? So it was a temple shot.
Yeah.
And because
And it
that
would've hit
screen
you.
was over there and he leans forward.
Just luck. So lucky. If there's something that will humble anybody, not just Donald Trump, you would think that escaping death like that.
Did you see any of his RNC speech?
I haven't. I had to work.
He was humble.
I'll check it out.
Just watch
dude,
the
I
first
can't-
20 minutes. After that, it just is a...
I have to read it in text. I have to read what he says in text because watching it, it's hard for me to pay attention to it when he's talking, unless it's like where he's talking shit. You know,
Yeah,
if it's
yeah,
like a clip
yeah.
of him talking shit to someone. Oh, that's fantastic. But him giving a speech, I have to read it in text.
What's funny to me is how you hear Rogan and those guys who are the best of the best talk about how good of a comedian Trump is,
Sure.
about his timing and the things he says.
Well, there's a reason that Donald Trump is a multi-billionaire. Is because he is a.
He's a cartoon character, for one thing.
It's not that. It's because his personality and being a highly functional human.
Yeah.
He's out there, man. He's out in the fucking ether.
His skin color's different. His hair is unlike
Well,
any
a
other
lot of
hair
that I
you've
think
ever
has to do
seen.
with makeup. But like,
Yeah, I get it, but he doesn't look like the average person, you know?
hey, Rufus, come here. I can't remember your dog's name.
It's Hemet. He
Hemet.
probably wants to go outside. I'll let him out.
I better let him out. I've got to take a whiz.
Yeah, we're back.
We are
What the hell are we talking about? Polarizing, trying
we're
to kill
talking
each other.
about fucking drum. We're beating that drum, I guess.
Well, what happens now?
Man, it's got to go. I'm going to support Kennedy this election.
They've both sides fucked him.
Yeah,
He
there
really
was
got
some,
a raw deal. He couldn't even get on a ballot, basically.
Yeah. Well, he can get on the ballot. He just has. So the process involves getting signatures. We
Right,
want so and
right,
so. Blah blah blah. They turned it in. Well, the first debate, he wanted to debate.
Yeah.
Well, a bunch of the states won't even look at the ballots. We don't start certifying. I said ballots. I meant signatures.
Mhm.
We won't even look at the signatures to make sure it's legit until August. So that's what happened in the first debate. Which
So that's
that
bullshit.
certainly is. And CNN actually changed because he's polling 15% in one of CNN's poll, that one of their own polls. They changed the rule, their own rule,
Yeah.
that they wouldn't have the distraction of Robert Kennedy winning the debate, which is what would happen if you've ever heard the guy talk.
That's also a problem, though.
Well, are you talking about his voice?
Yes.
Who gives a shit?
No, I get it. That
You
shouldn't be
give-
the reason. I mean, I wouldn't base my decision on voting for the man, but I'm saying I bet there are a lot of people out there
Sure.
who will not listen to him because of
Well,
his
and that's fine, but at some point, it's inevitable in the future of America that we're going to have to consider a third party. Because, I mean, what are we doing now?
But what? Okay, let's just say we have an official middle ground party. They win every time, no? So why would the right or the left want a centrist party
Right.
when they can pull you to the extremes and fight each other?
And
the system would never allow it.
But
That's what's
the-
best for the country. but
what,
we'd
what,
never
we're,
allow that.
what we're talking about, the fighting each other, that's all that Washington is doing,
Yes.
is fighting each other.
Yes.
They're not legislating. And that is a huge fucking problem. That is, and what Kennedy is saying he's wanting to do is get the corporate money out of government and clean up our food, clean up our water,
Clean up our
waterway. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's an environmental attorney. People
is.
think,
I
you know,
know.
he's a Kennedy, but his career was suing companies like Exxon.
And he was very successful at it.
I think it was Exxon Valdez. It's Exxon Valdez lawsuit, I think is what it was. I'd have to verify that. But like they're the pollution in the Hudson River.
Yeah.
You know,
But he's very knowledgeable
important.
about all that shit. Like, he's not just some crackpot idiot.
Certainly.
He's had a very successful career in doing that.
Where would we be without podcasts? You wouldn't be able to hear what the fuck Robert Kennedy has.
Did you listen to the Rogan, I assume, when he was on there?
Dude, fuck yeah.
Fantastic.
That was the first one that I listened to.
Same. That was the first I'd heard him.
Dude, I listened to him talk to Lex, man. Dude, fuck Lex.
You watched the Lex Friedman?
Dude, Lex's shit is so fucking sober, man. It's like
He's
you know
just
what I mean?
so autistic that, you know what I mean?
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe.
Having a lot of it in my family.
Or
like,
maybe he's Russian, right? Or Ukrainian.
Maybe
Russian.
that's it.
But
He
I know
has like negative charisma to me, and I have
dude, it's hard. It's
a
good.
challenge.
It's good stuff, but it's just like
No, I agree.
fuck.
It's great content, but it's not.
It's like reading Merriam-Webster, like line for
Yes,
line.
yes.
You know, and but
Great content though.
absolutely. Well, I love how Lex engages really smart people because he's a super smart
sharp
guy,
dude.
and I love how and I've tried to get my dad to listen to. You know, Dad's like, you know,
Well, I even had trouble
Yeah.
when he went on Rogan, getting through all of it. And I
Mhm.
did get through all of it, but I was like, that's a different kind of. Because Rogan to me is so. He's not the star of his own show, but he's an everyman. He's a
Sure.
relatable dude who is pretty left on most things, but pretty based on his just common sense. You know,
Sure.
so he's like he's a perfect everyman.
well, and he knows when to bow out and let someone talk, like you know
with
with
Terrence Howard.
Terrence.
What the hell
Terrence.
was that, dude?
What the hell, Terrence? Dude, I mean,
Right on the heel of
Terrence
Cat
Howard's-
Williams, by the way.
Terrence
Get those
Howard.
two on.
Do what?
I said, get those two on together.
Jesus Christ.
Could you
he's like-
imagine? The world's not ready for it.
No, fuck no. Dude, people would just tune out. It'd be too much. Well, Terrence is a smarter guy than me, but,
Sure.
you
same.
know, it's...
But maybe not as smart as he thinks. I couldn't get through the Weinstein episode.
It's the established... As far as the establishment, however we think about
Yeah.
the established math
Yeah.
paradigm is, they have serious problems with
Yes.
Terrence's math, which that is up here. I'm not even gonna speculate as to say, oh.
But is it
I'm on
possible that they're trying to keep him out because it's an established power?
yeah,
It's
I
like
don't.
Graham Hancock with all his theories on ancient civilizations. Like the established science doesn't want to hear it because it's going to prove him wrong. And I'm not saying he's right, but shouldn't we be embracing new ideas rather than just saying, hey, if it goes against this, we're
And
going to
see-
destroy you?
Well, and that's one of the things about that. It's important that we listen to that. It's important that we discuss new ideas, and which means listening to everybody. You know, I don't know where I was really going with that. It's important to have that and to not.
Well, you need all sides of the argument to find the best argument.
Certainly.
If I have a theory, I want somebody to debunk it, so then I can make it better. Okay, well,
Sure.
this was what was wrong
Or-
with my thing. I'm going to fix this.
Or not even a theory. I have a narrative,
Sure.
which is what so much of it is.
All
you know,
of it. All of it is, yeah.
you know, I fell back into Manson, like the Charles Manson thing, like when I saw Tom O'Neill. You know who Tom O'Neill is? He wrote. He's an MK Ultra researcher. He researches Sidney Gottlieb.
Okay.
But anyway, there's some tie with the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic
Yeah.
in San Francisco in 1967, Summer of Love, 67.
Yep.
Some connection with an MK Ultra psychiatrist from the University of Oklahoma and UCLA, same guy, who had some sort of connection with Charles Manson.
Right.
And now that Tom started researching that, Tom O'Neill.
Yeah.
His book's called Chaos. If people want to check it out, you can listen to it on Audible or Spotify, I think. And I've listened to it,
But the theory is that Manson was like a Manchurian candidate, right?
exactly. But I don't know. And Tom says
But it
that,
sounds plausible from what I've heard.
sure.
It's like the moon landing I was telling you about.
What's important about Tom's research is the things that are the mainstream narrative of the Manson murders is complete and utter fucking bullshit.
Do you remember that Helter Skelter book that you had,
dude?
Back in the day?
Dude, I read that thing twice.
I read it. I borrowed your copy and read it.
Do you still have it?
No.
I haven't seen it in years. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a paperback. You can get one for 99 cents. But anyway, that book is so full of fucking lies. And the police and everybody connecting to that case knew that was bullshit. But that has been sold to us,
Yes.
to people since 1969 when those murders occurred.
Right.
You know, and sent them to prison. I mean, some of those people that were involved with that probably should have been fucking released.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were involved, but they were fucking. They were fucked
What
up
about
on
the
LSD.
people in the government who were controlling it? Maybe they should be in there.
You would need to prove. You would need to prove that they were. Vince Bugliosi, which is the prosecutor, he's a very, very famous.
He was the prosecutor.
Prosecuting
Manson?
attorney, and that. Yeah, he prosecuted Manson.
Manson, right?
Manson and Tex Watson, and Linda Kasabian, and all of them.
He was damn, you're a fucking expert on this case over here. Look at you,
dude. I've listened to. I
dug
dug into it. Well, I dug into it because I thought that O'Neill was going to link Jolly West to Manson. I thought that there was going to be a link, and Manson was going to be a Manchurian. He doesn't have it.
Okay, but
I mean, not. Yeah, he supposedly has another book in the works.
But that's the theory.
But it in all that back in 1969 in Hollywood, it was all about protecting a bunch of fucking celebrities.
It wasn't until like 5 years ago.
it was about protecting people like John and Michelle Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas, and Terry Melcher, the producer, he was the one who had the home that Roman Polanski and them lived in. That supposedly Manson thought he was going to be there when they went and committed the murder. It was a big fucking drug deal. That went bad. That's what it was. And they went, and it was a drug rip. They were going to go rob the drugs and money, and it got out of control. Apparently, I think Jay Sebring, attacked Tex Watson, and he shot him and killed him. He's like, well, we can't leave witnesses, and we're already high as fuck on speed, so, you know.
Did you...
it sounds like that's what really happened. But it just pisses me off that we
narrative
just got
control.
People spent their fucking lives in prison. They wound up dying in prison because they were involved in that thing. And it's a miscarriage of justice to protect a bunch of fucking celebrities. You know what I mean? That's as far down the...
You a Bill Maher guy?
Man, I like he's such a pretentious cock, man.
But that's my thing. He's
I agree.
Cock.
I agree with most of what he says, but it's just like, why does it got to be Bill fucking Maher saying that?
Well, one thing that he really exposed to me is he's been trying to go on Fox or have Roseanne Barr on. He's trying to bridge the gap and talk across the aisle, and I appreciate that. But have you seen the clip where Roseanne Barr brings up MK Ultra and he's never heard of it?
I don't believe that a guy
if you're cutting edge voice of don't encourage that animal.
What's this dog's name?
That's Mo.
Mo.
You
remember Shogolati Bob Godely? Don't pretend like you know.
That one of your dogs?
No. Shogolati Bob Godely. You used to say it all the time.
I did?
Yeah, dude. You don't remember shit, Brad.
I know. Still when I've learned this already. He remembers shit I don't.
When you get upset at Chelsea or something, and you'd yell at her, and she'd get upset, and you'd be like, hey, Shogolati Bob Godely.
I don't.
Dude, shut up, dude.
Wow. I'm glad you brought it up.
Gibberish from back in the day. Meditate on it. When you wake up in the morning, when your mind is clear, in the mornings, think Shogolati Bob, and you'll get it.
So I was working on these harmonies for the Sam Cooke song, and I started it late at night.
Put a pin in what we were talking about, though, before we go down this one.
Okay, yeah, we'll come back to it. But I went to bed, and I was getting frustrated with the harmonies because I couldn't quite get them. And I woke up the next morning, they were there. Just completely there. I could nail them all.
Dude, it's because your circadian...
it works when you're asleep. It organizes files.
Yeah.
Easier than you could just do it awake.
And you are a human, and your body does that for you.
Mm-hmm.
You should take full advantage of that. And
It's like some AI shit, though.
I wish that I had we were talking about regrets, or it came up earlier. Regrets. My regrets is that I didn't that some of this basic shit that your mind and your body does for you that I took it for granted or just didn't even realize it until I was late 30s, or you know what I mean. I didn't realize that you have this at your disposal in your body. It just does it for you, your mind, or whatever. You know what I mean?
What did we stick the pin in? We were talking about we were talking about MK Ultra.
MK Ultra, and it went
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher talking to Roseanne Barr, giving her
Yeah, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of things he's unaware of, and the only way that could be is if he's only consuming left-wing media.
Sure.
And I get bothered by people on both sides who only consume their side of the aisle. It's like, hold on, if you only listen to CNN, then we can't even have a conversation because they're omitting half of the narrative from you. And if you only listen to Fox News, then how in the hell would you know what CNN is saying? You know what I mean?
Sure. Well,
you have to at least subscribe to both and see the headlines.
Certainly.
I mean, no.
Well, and when you talk to people, when you listen to people like Bill Maher, or you listen to people like Donald Trump, or you listen to people like Joe Biden, or you listen to people like whomever that are just, you have to think about the circle in which they run and the circle in which they live their life. The circle that is manufactured around this person. You want access to Donald Trump, it's not going to fucking happen.
No.
Unless you are in a similar circle.
Or you impress one of his sons, or...
You talk about an echo chamber all day long. There are people... He is surrounded by people who all day long tell him that he is exactly right about everything and everybody loves you.
Well, I think it's worse than that because I think...
I'm not just talking about Trump.
I'm talking ego.
I'm talking.
And so people that praise him are going to get rewarded.
And I'm also talking about Bill Maher.
Sure.
And or anyone who is at that level of, they get up at 4:00 in the morning and their days are
scheduled.
They are scheduled in 15-minute
by handlers
increments. When I worked for Roger Penske, when I worked at the auto park in Fayetteville. He owns, you know who Roger Penske is. I met him once. His day is 15-minute increments, and it is run by somebody. Can you imagine the President of the United States?
Nope.
Or can you imagine adhering to that? The people who you actually listen to is, you talk about an echo chamber, or you talk about we were talking about hearing what you want to hear. You're not going to give me bad news. You know what I mean? You're not going to disagree with me.
That's a really good point. If you're a VP or something, it's like, I don't want the fucking bad news. Fix it.
Absolutely.
Get it done. Find me the votes. Right?
Certainly.
Is that committing a crime? No, but like, I get it.
Find me. Yeah, I
know
don't.
What I mean? Fix this shit.
You don't give me. You don't give me bad
news.
Bad news.
Yeah. Or you're fired.
And that is why.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. It's not a town hall. It is being talked at, or
But to your point, you were talking about, thank God for the podcast, right?
Absolutely.
Well, here's the big difference I see between, let's just use Joe Rogan and Bill Maher. Bill Maher has writers who write his teleprompter bits for him and his story outlines. So he's not necessarily doing his own research.
Sorry.
And no, you're good. And his show is sponsored by a company that is basically paying the bills for that production.
Yeah.
So whoever's writing the script has to bounce it off the advertiser to okay it. Then Bill Maher gets it. And he might have started off a journalist or something, but he's no longer there because he's surrounded by people who feed him his own intelligence. Whereas Joe Rogan is doing his own fucking research. He's following his own people on Twitter, and he's giving you his actual opinion.
Yeah.
And while I do think he does ad reads and he takes advertising money, I think if an advertiser came to Joe and said, hey, take this episode down, I feel confident Joe would tell him to fuck off. That, to me, is a real stark difference in why, to your early point in the episode, you talked about why podcasts are
Yeah.
saving,
Oh, okay. Well, I won't take money from you anymore. There's people behind you who
who are waiting in line.
It's a business decision. You're not gonna influence my art.
Right. You shouldn't ever allow it to influence your art. Yeah. But our news is influenced by money, and that's a problem. You know?
Absolutely.
Fair and balanced used to be something we at least believed in. Now you know goddamn well.
You know who you sound like right now, Bradley?
Me?
You sound like Robert Kennedy Jr.
I like a lot of what he has to say.
You should vote for him. You should consider voting for him. And I mean, it's not whether or not he is going to win the election, whether or not you think that it's a wasted vote. It is a vote in the right direction. It's a vote of integrity. The way that I feel, my opinion is that it is a vote of integrity and it is in the right direction.
His policy is very, very much farther left of mine, but I love a lot. I believe in his spirit. I think he'd be a positive thing for this country.
And the number one thing, one of the things that I want, driving over here, I was thinking about what I want to talk about is reviving coalitions in government. Multi-partisan coalitions. In government, because it doesn't happen these days.
No, it's discouraged.
Just they're fighting each other, and people like cartoons like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, what does she do?
I'm embarrassed by Marjorie Taylor Greene. I get it, but
it's a character. It's a character.
They also want to peg every Trump supporter as Marjorie Taylor Greene.
AOC, yeah.
Or everybody on the left as an AOC.
AOC. Or the gal that's in Congress for New York or whatever that...
Let that dog in!
What's back there?
A bedroom.
Really?
With a Roku in it. Thank you. Shit. Fucking almost got up and did it myself. I'm like, there's a person in there that can open that door.
Well, and that gal that's in Congress that was some sort of support for like freaking terrorist groups and shit. What's her name? Iman?
Rashida Tlaib or
no, Iman or something like that.
Oh,
dude, it's like just more terrorism.
Well, what's your take on the Israel-Gaza thing,
dude? I'll say that the first thing that I want to say about that, there's a difference between being anti-Palestine and there's a difference between being pro-Palestine and being pro-Hamas.
Absolutely.
It's a clusterfuck. They are.
But everybody's an expert on this 2,000-year-old fight. All of a sudden,
that it seems like the only thing that the Western world wants to do is it's a question of whether or not we are going to throw tax money at it. And it is a war that has been going on for thousands of years.
You're an anti-war guy.
Fuck yes,
I'm an anti-war guy.
My grandpa shot down Luftwaffe bombers in France. I have a deep-seated patriotism in
way to make us feel bad about ourselves.
And
we never did anything like that.
I came this close to joining the military.
Yeah.
But as far as war, dude, anyone who's been near a war, you and I went to college. We didn't have to go fight that war,
right.
But I knew guys who got blown to fucking bits. Yeah. Guys whose lives were destroyed, or their from the anxiety and the PTSD and stuff like that. Or they're wounded for life. You know what I mean? Because of that damn war. And dude, we could have a whole podcast on that. But so yes, I am against war. I am against extremism.
So you would agree? Shut off the Ukraine faucet.
Absolutely, dude.
Shut off the Israel faucet.
People. Oh, will you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if this is running long, but
we even hit 2 of them.
Putin is not. I'm sorry, we're going in the red there. Sorry, it might have a pop there. Vladimir Putin is not going to allow Russia to become surrounded by NATO countries.
No way.
He will use chemical weapons before he will allow that to happen.
Yes. It's a defensive maneuver, though.
What people hear on MSNBC or CNN. I saw one. I walked in the service department break room the other day to buy a Diet Dr. Pepper out of the 50-cent machine, because if I get the bottle out of the other one that's in the service department, it's like $2.
Jesus.
So I can get a can for $50.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good deal. But anyway, service department, Fox News is in there playing most of the time, but there's one guy that works back there who changes.
They change it.
He changes
that
it.
happens at my work too.
He changes it to CNN, but I think he just does it to fuck.
Fuck
with people, which God bless.
Which is
him.
funny.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, the comic relief.
Yeah.
But anyway, the ticker at the bottom the headline was Russia burning after Ukraine counteroffensive. Whatever. It's just like Ukraine's going to run out of soldiers because you're just not reporting how many of them.
Have
are
you
being
seen
killed.
Lindsey Graham talk about how many Russians we've killed? You ever
No.
seen that clip?
Yeah, I stopped listening to Lindsey Graham, but
That motherfucker is a warmonger.
is he?
Oh yeah, we got to kill more Russians. It's like, god damn, son.
Dude, Russia's
All
full
about
of
killing.
Russia's full of like energy and stuff for the world. We need to figure out a way to get along with Russia.
Apparently, I don't know if you watched the Tucker interview, but Putin claims he asked to join NATO twice, and I get it if you don't want to allow Russia into NATO because you don't trust him or whatever. But
Putin's a former communist. I don't trust
he
Vladimir
was
Putin.
secret. He was KGB.
He's a former communist.
You don't trust this guy. I get it.
But he's going to lead their government until he croaks, apparently. But
And I'm not a Putin apologist. I just get why he's doing this because he warned about it for years.
yeah.
Don't encroach my borders anymore. Don't allow
And
any more
it
members
was in
into
the.
NATO.
I can't think of right now. I mean, I can't think of what the agreement was, but about Ukraine.
But we broke it. NATO broke it.
Ukraine rejoining after the breakup of the Soviet Union.
Yes.
Ukraine is going to rejoin. Well, it sounds like it's come due, and
Overdue.
and not that I agree with it or whatever, but it shouldn't be a surprise when they send in the military to take them up on that agreement.
Yeah.
And whether or not we're gonna to our own detriment, whether we are going to fund a war that Ukraine is going to fucking lose,
They were always going to
and
lose it.
hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men are going to
But do you
die.
feel like we as American government were just virtue signaling this entire time?
I think that it
We
is.
knew they were going to lose that
I
war.
think that it is to distract us from the economic hardships that are going on in the United States.
But it's our fucking money, and we don't really have a say in any of it.
When you get paid and your employer withholds taxes,
Yeah.
it all comes out of it goes into a big budget, and eventually it goes over to Ukraine, or it goes to pay companies like Halliburton,
Yep.
or whomever,
Boeing.
to produce weapons to send over to Ukraine on C-130s.
And if you want to think about it in this context, like you ever seen the movie Blow? Or
Yes.
Scarface, right? Any of those. You see how much money they make off of just exporting cocaine or importing it into the United States. That's nothing compared to making missiles. You want a $3 million missile and you need 2,000 of them? That's fucking money, man. They need that shit to run.
Well, and
And you
So-
got to expend the old inventory. It's like if your product is running low on dates on the shelf, you're going to discount it to sell it, right? What happens when these weapons get outdated? You
they
gonna throw
sell
them away, or do you
them.
wanna use them?
They sell them to the third world.
They sell
They sell them to the
they sell them.
Eastern. They sell them to
Whoever will
governments.
buy 'em.
They sell them to governments that are run by alien Eastern creeds who are going to fire those weapons at Americans. That's what happened at the breakup of the Soviet Union. I mean, people we grew up with getting shot at by AK-47s. That, you know what I mean? My son's into guns. He's 8. He's my son, so he's into armaments, etc., parachutes, military stuff.
Yeah.
It's just how he is. You should meet him. But anyway,
I will.
he was asking me if an AK-47 is a good rifle. I said, yeah, it's a damn good rifle, one of the best ever made. But we should get one, Dad. You know how kids are.
Yeah,
We should get one, Dad. I'm like, that's a weapon that was designed to kill Americans. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. I don't know. I just felt like saying that. That's my tough guy thing for the minute. But
So yeah, I like to have fun with a little AR-15 now. I mean,
certainly.
they're fun, and well, their purpose is to protect you from the government, and I get it. You ain't gonna take down the government, but by God, that's what the Second Amendment says, and unless you change it,
Yeah.
that's what it is to me.
And it's yeah, I mean, those weapons end up in the hands of our enemies.
No, that's the
You know.
problem. But that's the problem.
And is Russia really our enemy?
See, that's what I wonder. The reaction. See, to me, I always get cued off by insanity reactions. So, like, when Tucker did an interview with Putin, the left reacted so hard, and it's like, wait, why wouldn't you want to hear that side of the story?
Certainly.
So you're advocating to only ever hear propaganda?
Yeah.
That to me is the wrong answer,
people
which
you think
made
are-
me want to
right.
listen to it.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like with censorship. A lot of people on the right are trying to kick off anybody who said they wish Donald Trump had been hit on that day. And it's like, hey, as long as they're not advocating for violence, they're just lamenting somebody they hated. Like, that's free speech to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't want those people kicked off. Do
Well-
I want to know who they are so I can avoid them? Maybe.
It's designed to invoke a reaction.
100%
I'd
is
imagine.
designed to invoke a reaction.
You know,
But I
broke
feel
up broke up Tenacious D. Come on, Kyle.
dude.
Fucking dumbass. Loves
Max and I
Tenacious.
saw them last year. It was a really cool experience to go with your teenage son to see Tenacious D.
I mean, Jack's hands were tied, dog. What was
He
he
didn't
gonna
have to cancel the tour.
do? Yeah.
He didn't have to do that. I feel like there's a lot of paying fans that got fucked by that deal. But
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's
do you remember?
Fucking crazy.
I'm going to try and pivot the subject here. We're going to get political for a while.
anyone that's watching this in the future has probably got some glazed eyes like these fucking idiots.
Oh, they tuned out a long time ago. We're fine now. Nobody's listening anymore.
Right.
Do you remember that video we did for that senior project on Huck Finn?
Yeah, I remember it. I'm proud of it.
I just watched it.
I believe you. I believe you watched it. Man, you've always done that. You kept everything, man.
I do. I'm a sentimental person.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it can be, but
No, you're an old soul, man. Old souls only on this podcast, right?
Mr. Jenkins had us do an assignment. You probably had to do it too, where you had to interview the oldest person you knew. Do you remember that
Yeah.
assignment?
It was psychology. Was it
I
psychology?
don't remember. It was either that or sociology, whatever he taught.
I don't think I took sociology in high school. I think I took it. I'm pretty sure I took it when I was freshman in college. Sociology.
I don't remember what class it was, but we
I
had
had
to interview
something
the
that
oldest
conflicted.
person we knew, and I interviewed my grandmother, who was in her 90s at the time. You know, I was 15, 16. And
He had us do that in psychology,
okay, maybe that was psychology,
but
but it
may have
blew
been
my
different.
mind
Yeah.
because this is 1, 2, 3 generations up
Mm-hmm.
from me, and hearing the way she grew up, and they were still riding horses to school,
Sure.
you know, and she was a Democrat, lifelong Democrat,
They were all Democrats.
very progressive for her day,
Yeah.
but you know,
Well, it's because Roosevelt saved everybody.
yeah.
Poor people saved
Yeah.
with the social.
But I remember
social-
she had a
yeah.
lot of what you would call today homophobic comments.
Absolutely.
You know, he was a Democrat in the mid '90s,
Yeah.
and I listened back to that, and it's like, wow, it's things that I don't like. That assignment was always special to me, and I still have that cassette. And I wish I had done that with my grandpa, her son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wished I had done that with more people. Just sit down and record a conversation. It's kind of a weird thing to ask somebody. Hey, can I sit down and record us? Right?
Yeah.
But a podcast is a great excuse, you know.
Well, and that's why I think you're on the right track with talking to people that, you know, like my dad's going to come on here. He's got some views that differ from yours. I say differ from yours.
But that's
Differ
okay.
from a lot
That's okay.
of people. And you should engage him about that kind of stuff. My dad's a smart dude. He's,
Oh, I
he's
know.
one of the,
No doubt about it.
he's an intelligent guy. I mean,
I just I don't want to sour the water though either. You know, like if I don't think we even need to get into that.
you're not gonna offend that dude.
You know,
But I
We'll
mean,
talk about it.
he's, you know,
I'm just excited to see him because like when I was growing up, there were cool dads, there were asshole dads, and there were dads you just didn't even, weren't even on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember thinking, Jared's got a cool fucking dad.
I do. Yeah, I do.
He had stories. Mm-hmm. I'd come over, stay at the house.
He'll answer questions with stories.
He was just a cool dad. And I just
Absolutely.
remember, him telling stories about concerts or Stevie. That man will talk about Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Ray, dude.
But yeah, just one of those cool things. But I've had the most resistance from that generation coming on the pod.
Well, and interesting with him now is the how he's as of late. I say late with the past several years. I mean, getting away from all the dogma and things from religion and things that we grew up with and that were a huge part of our lives for so many years. Getting away from all of that and kind of moving in more of a direction of a personal development type thing. Yeah, not an existential crisis, but more of a what is the meaning of life? What are humans?
Yeah.
What are we here for? Our psyche, as far as how we evolve. What is our purpose on the earth? This glimpse of reality that we have with the way, you have a rudimentary understanding of how the universe works, but like the glimpse that we have, what our purpose is here, it's evolved from, and it sounds kind of like Nietzsche said, the whole thing, people are moving past the dogma of religion and things like that. That's some really interesting stuff that you could spend some podcast time on.
Certainly.
That a lot of people, I don't know, that a lot of people you face in life, and some people don't, and that's perfectly fine. But a guy like my dad, somebody who thinks and studies, you know what I mean? He's really, and ancient civilizations and things like that.
I'm really fascinated with that stuff because I always, the Bible, and there's nothing against Christianity or Christians or any of it. There's a level of faith there.
Sure.
You have to just believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just never added up to me.
Sure.
But then I saw Billy Carson
Mm-hmm.
on fucking Andrew Schultz podcast. He's talking about the Anunnaki and how these fucking aliens arrived and built the pyramids. And it's like, that sounds way cooler.
Yeah. It's more exciting.
But he didn't fucking know either.
Sure.
Well,
and
it's like, I don't, even so, that still doesn't give me the answer to why are we here.
Sure.
Or any of that. I think that's what you have to find for yourself. I don't think, and that's again, like we're talking about politicians. A politician's not going to save you. To me, I don't think you should expect a God to save you.
Sure.
I think you have autonomy to save yourself.
Well, and there's a question of whether or not it's our responsibility to save people who can't save themselves.
That's a good question.
That's a.
We'll see. That's an authoritarian.
That's a very, very controversial thing, and that's.
I would say no.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to let them fail.
Certainly.
But it's hard.
Like, why would I want to be anywhere near?
Yeah.
Refugee camps. Why would I want to be anywhere near? These people who can't. It's not my problem. It's the problem of governments. I don't know.
Well, I think everybody wants to be a good person, right? And I think it's real easy to say, well, I'll be a shitty person in real life, but go Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a lot of virtue signaling going on in our country. I support this cause, but I'm not actually going to do anything.
I feel like that
to grow myself.
I feel like that is a coping mechanism for something else.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to completely get behind and I'm not talking about like get behind some woke things or get completely behind supporting. I'm going to say it, but I hope that you understand the spirit of what I'm going to say. Like starving people in parts of the world, and it's because their fucking governments are
they're leeching everything
imbeciles
out of the community. Yeah.
Because their governments
Absolutely.
are stealing from their people.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's happening here too, just not to the extreme.
with the war on drugs, I mean, it's failed. I mean, as much as we love,
It was gonna fail to start with.
yeah,
It's a war on.
it has succeeded in throwing people in prison and creating generations of people who are completely reliant on social programs to live. Generations
Yeah,
of people right here in America.
absolutely.
And at some point we're going to have to look at those entitlements because the people are paying for it. You know what I mean?
Well, they are paying for it, but also when you talk about a war on drugs, and I think we're in a generation now. I think we're in a rocky period. It's almost like a teenage period, right? It's like the handoff from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
Except
The
only
boomers,
80-year-old
the
white
boomers.
men are still in power, and everybody's kind of confused about that. But
Are
at the
they?
same time,
Are they? Joe Biden just dropped out of the race.
but you know what I mean. I mean,
I do know
the
what
two
you mean.
presidential candidates. I'm just kind of just generalizing, but a war on drugs, or say a puritanical right, like a war on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going up against things that people are using to cope with the fucked up world we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I never understood the war on drugs. It's like if somebody wants to get high and take the edge off, like. You've probably seen the Reefer Madness clips from the 50s, when these people are smoking marijuana.
He jumps out the window or whatever.
and jumps out, people are getting raped. And it's like, that's not actually what that does, but that was the narrative.
Because so-and-so smoked 2 marijuanas. All paid for with U.S. tax dollars.
Yes, they demonized a drug that if I had to have one of them legal, I'd prefer to have that legal than alcohol.
Absolutely.
I think they both should be, but I'm just saying, if my kid's out driving on one of those things, it's an easy answer.
Better not be.
You're going 10 miles under the speed limit? All right.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. We could sit here and go back and forth, talk about all the things, but it's things that we're going to have to talk about. Things that are below the surface of liberal versus what is liberal and what
abortion and border control.
Yeah. And well, you want to talk about the border, I mean, it's hard to talk about the border without talking about Donald Trump. I mean, it's what got him elected in the first place. And then he allowed his cabinet to completely talk him out of doing what he said he was going to do. Donald Trump's the whole migration crisis is.
I think he had policies in place.
He did, but he caved to his cabinet about immigration, and look at where we are now with it. I mean, it's a fucking cluster.
Well, I think the side that got in was just like, we're going to remove all of his policies, whether they were good or bad, because it's him.
Absolutely, because of the cult of personality.
But I would argue that I don't know the number of executive orders he had, but it was over one, and it shouldn't have been.
Sure. It's weird.
But the executive branch, if anything, needs to be checked a little bit more.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if it's Trump or your guy or whoever.
Well, now we have the Supreme Court ruling that they can't be culpable for crimes they committed for.
Things they did in the official capacity.
Sure, let's leave. Official capacity is the phrase, but
I still haven't read the actual.
Leave
ruling.
that open for.
Have you read it?
I tried. I tried.
It's so dry. I'll get like a few paragraphs in, and I realize there's a loaded gun to my head, and I'm like, oh, this is dangerous.
And that's all by design, man. It's just legalese.
Yeah.
I can't. I just.
But I listened to both sides of the argument on it.
Sure.
And the one that I hear the most is just the fear that it gives the president too much power, regardless of who you are. And I'm on that side. Like, I don't want the executive branch to have any more power.
Sure.
But again, I can't get through the whole fucking thing, so I'm relying on propaganda on both sides
It's like,
to tell me.
I've got to be at work in the morning.
I know it's so
can't
dry,
read
and I also don't speak legalese. Like some of the phrases, the Latin terms and shit. It's like I don't know.
It's all open for interpretation.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's part of why we're so confused. It's like if I can't do it myself, like who's got time to listen to congressional hearings, right? But if you want to hear about it, you got to go to team right or to team left.
Sure. And what was, and read the synopsis of what occurred
Right.
by your whichever flavor
Right.
that you subscribe to, and what was it, C-SPAN that was on when we were, God, you talk about dry. The only thing cool about C-SPAN was when they had, like England, they would have like question hour when the House, whatever. They could say whatever they wanted. It was entertaining. We don't have to talk about it.
There was some wild shit in British politics.
There still is,
over the
man.
years, yeah.
Just customs that have
Yeah.
survived. Good for them, man. You talk about a conservative country.
I mean, they were going pretty left recently.
Well, probably are, but I mean, they're so, they preserve their way of life. You can't tear down buildings and shit, because that's how anti-progressive they are about some stuff. France is the same way too. You can't tear down buildings in Paris. Some 600-year-old building, like hotels that you have to turn and like walk sideways down the hallway and shit.
Yeah,
Like that.
but it's historical, so
It's just the way of life over there.
yeah.
Old countries. Right on, brother.
How long have we been going?
I don't know.
2.5. We'll wrap this up so we can tell some
Let's wrap
stories
it
off
up.
the pod.
Let's do it,
It's
brother.
coming on, brother.
Yes, sir. Let's do it again soon.
We will. Let's get you and Stillwell on together.
Let's do it. We'll
Maybe
talk
Calvert, too.
We'll talk about fun stuff. We'll quit solving all the problems.
Well,
in the
we're
world.
in a political climate right now.
We certainly are.
It's heavily weighing on all of us because the word unprecedented was overused like 4 years ago, and we're still heading down that freight train.
And I said it on Facebook. I made a Facebook post the other day, and I think you engaged with it a little bit. But like, I said something like, "I'm glad that my kids get to be a fly on the wall with where we are now,
Yeah.
and hopefully learn from this.
Yes.
Just this chaos and nonsense, because it's got. I mean, we're headed in two different directions,
Yeah.
and it's come to a head a couple of times, and so hopefully
I'm just afraid that it's going to keep coming to a head. I feel like Trump or Biden or RFK is going to get killed before the election.
Biden's going to resign. He'll resign. I mean,
He doesn't finish out the presidency.
well, it makes sense for him to resign for health reasons, because Kamala Harris can run incumbent,
right.
and Trump can't say, well, he was scared to run against me, so he quit.
Right.
If he resigns for health reasons.
True.
So, and there's also the double-edged sword of, if for whatever reason he can't run a campaign, then he shouldn't be running the country.
Sure. That is the argument on the right now.
So
If you can't run it next year, why can you run it now?
well,
Yeah.
or how can you be running the country if you can't run a campaign?
Yeah.
If you can't concurrently run
Sure,
a
yeah.
campaign. But so it makes sense that the narrative be, I'm resigning for health reasons,
Yes.
and then Kamala Harris gets to run incumbent.
Well,
that
she
makes
also gets
sense.
to be first female president.
All that woke shit that doesn't fucking matter. That will be
No,
that
but I'm
if that
saying it'll be
happens.
touted,
That if that happens, will be
Nobody
it'll
will
be
give a
nothing
fuck.
but that.
But she could run as an incumbent. She has access to that money, however that works, because
I don't know.
there's a certain large amount of dollars.
The
that are-
Biden donors that just give it, just transfer
But
them. money.
I don't think anybody in a free and fair election beats Trump right now,
Yeah, I
unless
think probably
RFK
right.
got the nod.
Unless-
I think it would be tight.
Unless there is just a silent, which I think it'll be more than what most people think. Unless there is just a silent, and I think there will be, people are going to come out from Kennedy. It'll be people from our generation who aren't engaging the public and stuff like that about it, who are just like, dude, I tuned out of this left and right shit long ago.
Yeah.
And we have got to get, this is the only step toward sanity, the only candidate with an articulable plan.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do when I'm president. Donald Trump, what he's going to do is he's going to try and strengthen the executive office.
According to
Joe Biden or whomever,
that,
who the fuck knows? It's probably police reform. Some gal got shot by the police.
I don't know that I necessarily agree that Trump wants to try to strengthen it. If I believe that, that would really terrify me.
Yeah, I think that's.
But I don't want any president to do that.
Shit, no. Because what if the next president is someone like Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
And then there's a precedent laid by a conservative that they can use executive powers for this. What if the next person is a socialist?
No, it's a slippery ass slope we're on.
Absolutely.
I know that the pod keeps going political, but at the same time, it's like we got fucking kids we're raising in this universe. We want this world to be a better place. And I think our minds just tend to focus on it a lot.
And that's the thing is our children will, whether we like it or not, they will inherit.
Yes.
They will inherit this world.
Season 2 will be much better. The election will be over.
And if we
talking about fun shit.
Absolutely. And if we've got to do something, we got to do right by them.
But I think more than anything, it's just talking to somebody. Reach out to somebody you disagree with politically and just start a conversation about something you have in common with.
Yeah.
And see if you can learn something from them. Because I bet you can. Because I have.
I have too. And we run into dogma and stuff like that. And it's just like.
Be willing to consider that you might be wrong.
Certainly.
About whatever it is.
I'm wrong about most things. That's my wife.
So am I.
That's my wife.
Yeah. Well, yeah. She's always the greatest reminder, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you can just disassociate yourself from the dogma, the term Jared keeps using, the dogma is really what is separating us.
Yeah.
You're so married to these ideas, and sometimes you can't even defend them logically, but it's your idea.
You wind up walking
cling
away.
to.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're just, they're just crazy or whatever. It's where you come to a crossroads in the dialogue where it's neither. It's not to where it's not going. It's
not
just
productive.
A clashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where we are as a country. It's like,
and it's a problem. And the solution is definitely not to just destroy the Democrats or just to destroy the Republicans. It's not the solution.
Well, I do think we need a third party.
I think you're right.
I truly believe that. I think we need to destroy both of those people. And if you had a central party and those two faded away, you would probably have branches of a centrist party.
Well, and we need to understand what is happening to us and what is being fed to us when we choose to engage with the media. We are being fed.
Right.
We're being fed narrative.
They don't have your best interest at heart.
Certainly not. They're selling you. They're selling ads.
Exactly.
It's what they're doing.
Yeah. They have their advertisers' best interest at heart. The lobby. Well, it's like a politician, right? They're going to use you to get voted in based on what they're seeing in real time at rallies or engagements or hearing. And they'll use that to get elected, but then the people that paid them the money to run the campaign own them once they get elected.
Certainly.
So then fuck the person who got me elected. Now the people who paid for the campaign get my attention. And so that's why I believe there's an illusion of democracy. Absolutely. Yeah, you're voting for someone and you are the one getting them in, but once they get in, fuck you. They're working for Pfizer or Boeing or whoever it is. APAC. I don't know. It kind of makes me want to run just so I can get rich and sell out.
Dude, that would suck your soul away from you, man. If you did
well, that's the thing. Everybody keeps saying, well, so-and-so, a politician, is a good person. It's like, you think anybody at that level is a good person? If you make it to a senator or a president, you think you have a moral compass?
You would be better off getting on improving the streets of the city of Farmington, having an office like that.
Yeah.
You would affect more lives than you would getting involved in, doing something for your own town.
Sure.
But you have these people in Oklahoma. This happens, because I read the news, every day, and you have these people who get caught, like these sheriffs and politicians who get caught in these frauds
Yeah.
and it's always using public funds to pay
Yeah,
their bills
yeah,
or whatever. And they try and make it a fucking conspiracy. Like, it's all red out in Oklahoma, of course, which is fine. But it always becomes about this is an attack on democracy. I did nothing wrong. They're trying to suppress what the voters who elected me with this sham thing. It's like, dude, you committed a fraud. You stole money and paid for a car or something like that. It's happened a lot in Oklahoma since I've been there.
Well,
and that's what you hear from these people. It's just like,
well, it's like the Secret
I think
Service
you know what I'm
deal
trying to
with the
say.
Trump assassination. It's like you can either tell the truth and say you let it happen,
Mm-hmm.
or come up with every imbecilic, easily torn down argument you can.
Sure.
What you going to do?
it
You're not going
distracts.
to tell the truth.
Truth is the word. It's what is the truth?
Well, shit, you remember being a teenager. Is this
Absolutely.
your alcohol? You get very creative. I mean, this dude that I met somewhere brought this over. You come up with these ridiculous stories when all you got to say is yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Or
kind of
no.
like that.
Or you could just say no to tell a big story.
It's like anything but the truth.
Yeah. It's wild.
And then the lies get so crazy because you can't actually hide the truth.
Well, and the mis and disinformation has become normal, and it's become what people expect. What's the story going to be? And that is
Right.
what.
Yep.
And when we subscribe to that, and we assist these complete sons of bitches in pushing it, shame on us.
Agreed.
I mean, these are if you have, let me put it like this: you have an irresponsible relationship with government when you are an advocate for politicians.
Sure.
Or I'll rethink that.
Well, I kind of get what you're saying.
If
If you're believing in a person, in an individual, to fix the thing, that's not a good.
if you
that's not a healthy
subscribe,
thing. To any individual,
you have an irresponsible relationship with the people who govern you,
yeah,
because we are people. They are governors. They are people
Yes.
who govern us.
yes, absolutely,
And part of being an American is to be suspicious of them always.
always.
To never try.
You've always been a guy. That's what I've always liked about you since we were little. You always question things. I was
Sure.
always the same way. Like, where did you get that from? Do you think?
It's just I think it's just my nature.
Was it
It's
one of
just-
your parents, or was it just you?
Man, it's just the whole thing with. I'll go back to the Manson. The Manson. I read Helter because of Wayne Jennings. Jenkins's class, his psychology class. I had to read Helter Skelter because I had to do a report on Charles Manson.
Yeah.
I think we drew and I got Charles Manson, so
Yeah.
I read Helter Skelter. I didn't fucking believe the story. I was just like, it's an expose that somebody made up. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that it happened like this. That he brainwashed these hippies into committing murders for
Mhm.
this weird reason. I remember not ever buying that. You know what I mean?
So when you get a better explanation, it seems
When I
plausible.
hear something, when I heard that author Tom O'Neill, when I heard him on Joe Rogan, and he's talking about this thing, it just revived that. It's just like, here it is.
Yeah.
I've never
Always-
bought this story, and just that quest for, as weird as that is, something that happened in the '60s. What? Who gives a shit? You know,
I get it. It's with religion.
I
For me and Billy Carson.
I went down that. I kind of went down the rabbit hole with that. You know, with a little
But
bit
can
of my
you
free
still
time.
say 100%?
Say 100% what?
Either way, with the Manson thing.
Dude, the guy who wrote Helter Skelter made it. He made that up.
So you can say with 100%, like, that's bunk.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He suborned perjury. At the,
I haven't gone
at their
down this hole,
trials.
so I'm
I don't recommend you do. But he suborned perjury at their trial. That's enough
Yeah.
That's enough for a mistrial or a reversing their
reversing their sentences.
their convictions.
Yeah.
And you know, just that kind of shit. And that's why I went down. Is because I thought that they had, and it was a big conspiracy. I went down the conspiracy thing. I don't normally do that because conspiracy theories are normally it's an easy way out. You know what I mean?
But sometimes they're right.
Sure.
Next episode, 3 hours on January 6th, people. We'll do it right here.
Right on. I'm in.
I got to piss. We'll end it.